pull up my notes and whatnot. All right. All right, so we've got the TikTok stream up, and looks like the YouTube stream is going as well. Just got to get my notes pulled up so I can keep track of who I'm talking to and that kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully we can have some solid conversations tonight. Kind of depends on who comes up and what they want to talk about, but hopefully we'll get some good faith, linear conversations about whether or not there's justification to believe in a God. Obviously, my position is that no such justification exists, but hey, maybe today's the day somebody proves me wrong. Hey, both sides, thank you so much for the support. That's awesome. Get here. Okay. We'll hope that TikTok Studio is working a little bit better tonight. But, not really a whole lot I can do about that. But yeah, mostly just hoping that we have some good conversations. But yeah, basically looking for folks who are 18 plus and willing to have some kind of willing to have a good faith conversation about whether or not there's justification to believe in a God. Like I said, it's my position that no such justification exists, but I will believe whatever is justified to believe, right? If we have actual justification to believe a position, then I will change to that position. Just trying to get this everything set up here. Okay, and then we'll see if we can have a good conversation. Looks like we do have somebody requesting, so I'll bring them up momentarily. Just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're looking for folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God. Okay. So it looks like... Okay. All right. Try to have our first conversation hopefully start out on a good note. Hi, Philly Sports. Are you at least 18? Oh, yeah. You're the same Philly Sports I've spoken with before, right?
Yeah, hi.
Okay. And you're still Christian?
Yes.
That's too bad. Hopefully we can fix that.
I'm trying to help you out.
Well,
I mean,
we'll see what happens, I guess. How
uh,
about we agree? Whichever one of us has a better argument in this conversation, the other will convert. Sound good?
no.
Oh, what? You don't want to convert to the better position?
All right, let's talk.
Okay. What's your best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Well, the thing is, see, God is supernatural. We cannot test the supernatural of that sort. Like physical. We can't test. He's not physical.
Yeah, that sounds like the kind
Well,
of thing that I would say if I believed in something that I couldn't demonstrate.
well, no. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I would.
God's a
That's the kind of
supernatural.
excuse that you give if you believe in something that you can't demonstrate, right? If you thought you could
Well,
demonstrate it, then you would just be giving the demonstration, wouldn't you?
well, I mean, you can't because he's supernatural. He's outside time, matter, and space.
That's the
That's
claim.
the thing.
Why should we
It
think that he
is.
exists at all?
Well, I mean, but you ain't gonna grant me my a testimony or my personal experience that I have.
Well, would you change your position if I told you I had personal experience that makes me believe that there are no gods? If you think that I should change my position based on your personal experiences, don't you think then it would be fair that you change your position based on mine?
No, I hear you. I hear you, but
Okay, so we
uh,
both agree that we're not going to change our positions based on the other's personal experience. So what is something that,
well,
would give us justification to change our positions?
well, I mean, we could go back to the the theory of what was it? The one theory there, the crap. I can't think. My mind's went blank. But
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm trying to think of it. What did we talk about last time?
Fine tuning.
That's it. Fine tuning.
Okay. Well, I actually have a new argument against fine tuning that I'd love to run. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay. Give me a second to get the notepad up here, or do you want me to just kind of go through it without putting it on the screen?
It's up to you. It don't matter to me. It's fine. I can either or.
Okay. So I think that you would agree that if God exists, then any possible way the universe could have been, because God's all powerful, he could have made life exist in that universe, right? No matter how it had been made.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. And then I would say that if every possible way the universe could be would have been life permitting, then that means that life doesn't require finely tuned physical constants, right? Because God could make life without finely tuned physical constants.
He could have, yeah.
Absolutely, fantastic. And if life doesn't require finely tuned physical constants, then we would say that the God hypothesis doesn't require finely tuned physical constants in order for life to exist, right?
Okay.
And if the God hypothesis doesn't require finely tuned physical constants, then that means that it doesn't predict those finely tuned constants, right?
Okay.
And if it doesn't predict those constants, then finding finely tuned constants wouldn't actually be evidence for the position, which means if God actually exists, then fine tuning couldn't possibly be evidence for God. Because the way that fine tuning is evidence is saying it's very unlikely that the constants would have been fine tuned, and we know that God would have fine tuned the constants if he exists because he wants life. Therefore, fine tuning points to the existence of God. But what I'm saying is that's completely backwards. If God exists, he could might make life without fine tuning. So seeing fine tuning actually sounds more like evidence against God, because God wouldn't need to have fine tuned it in order for life to exist. So it would be more likely, if God exists, that he would have made life without fine-tuning. So fine-tuning actually seems like evidence against God.
Not necessarily, because, okay, let's put it a different direction or a different way of fine-tuning. Like, we're, like, complex matter. We're not simply made, right?
I don't understand what you're saying.
There got to be an intelligent mind behind what was created.
Why would there have to be an intelligent mind?
Well, I mean, because it's how else would? So you're just gonna say the Big Bang, or it just happened?
I didn't say anything like that. I'm not talking about that. You're saying, Philly. You're saying that there needs to have been an intelligent creator. I'm asking why. Why is that something that needs to have been the case?
I mean, we're intelligent. The design. So
that's just assuming that's just assuming that you're correct. That's begging the question. Why should I think that we were finely tuned, or why should I think that we were designed?
So how do you think that we were? Other than our mom and dad, whatever, but from creation, you just think what?
Let's imagine that I have no idea. Let's imagine I have no clue. I don't have the first foggiest guess as to how life came into existence. Why should I think that a God was involved?
It makes more sense.
Why does it? That's the question. Just saying that it makes more sense is assuming that you've shown that it makes more sense. But that's what I'm asking you to show. Well, I can't say that atheism makes more sense than theism, and you say, well, why should I believe in atheism? And then I say, well, it makes more sense. That's what I'm supposed to be demonstrating. Similarly, what you're supposed to be demonstrating is, why does it make more sense that there would be a God?
Well, I mean, we have literature like the Bible and Jesus. I mean, look at Jesus was God and man.
That's the claim.
it's either, I guess, we believe it or not. It's by faith we believe. We lean not unto our own understanding. The Bible is the roadmap to our salvation.
Yeah, again, that's the claim.
I mean,
You're supposed to be giving me a
mean,
reason why I would believe in
okay,
God in the first place. Is that something that you can do?
okay. But the thing is, you're gonna leave yourself empty, or go after
Do you
something that
understand the
might
question
be
that I'm
real.
asking you right now?
I missed the question. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not asking you to preach. At no point during our
I'm not
conversations do
trying
you
to
ever need to
preach.
preach.
I'm
Okay. What
sorry.
I'm asking you to do is to provide some kind of evidence or argument that would give me a reason to believe that a God exists. Is that something that you can do?
I mean, but you're not gonna believe it anyway. That's
I
the
will
thing.
believe whatever you can demonstrate. Whatever, if you give an argument,
I
if you give an argument that is valid and sound and concludes, therefore God exists, and I can't reject any of the premises, then I will agree with you that God exists.
well, I'm saying Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's just a word. What if I said there is no God and you ask why and I said Jesus Christ? Would that be a good argument?
But we know, but
No, that
there's
wouldn't be a good
other
argument, would
than
it? Because it doesn't actually support the conclusion. Similarly, you saying Jesus Christ, that doesn't support the conclusion that you're supposed to be supporting. So it doesn't
no,
give
but
me a reason to believe the conclusion.
I mean, there's a lot of different things in this. Like, I mean, come
Saying
on.
there's a
If you
lot of
look
different
around
things is
you,
the kind of thing that someone says when they don't know how to support their position. Like, that's what I would say if I was just trying to buy time. Well, there's a lot of different things. I don't really know what any of them are, and I can't tell you any of them, but there are a lot of different things. Well, what I'm asking you for is all of the different things. Not just to say that there are things, but to tell me the things.
I said God's supernatural. You cannot
That's the
test
claim.
that. I mean, it's by faith.
Right. So,
I don't. Mm,
so can people believe false things on faith?
I mean, I guess,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, people
but
can believe false things on faith. So you think that you've come to a true conclusion on faith, and you agree that other people come to false conclusions on faith. So what that tells us is that at best, faith is an unreliable pathway to truth. If we want to
okay.
know whether or not our beliefs are true, we should only be using reliable pathways to truth. Since I care whether or not my beliefs are true, I will never, ever allow faith to be
Well,
part of the decision making process when I'm
you're
trying to figure out what's true and what's not. So, knowing that I will not ever consider anything on faith, do you have
okay.
any argument or evidence that would compel me to believe that God
I
exists?
mean, there's more than just faith. It's faith and believing and personal experiences. I had personal experiences of
We already
God.
talked about personal experiences, Philly.
So
If my personal experiences won't convince
the
you to
thing
change
is,
your
it's
position, then
true.
why should your personal experiences convince me to change mine?
So what's your personal experience of not having God?
So you're telling me that if I give you a personal experience and I interpret it in a
If
way
you're
that leads me to believe
truthful,
that no gods exist, then you will also believe that no gods exist?
if you're truthful,
Okay, so if I
not
give
no
you, so I'm just
unicorn in the
confirming here,
sky, blah
I'm
blah blah blah.
Philly, I'm just confirming here the criteria. If I tell you one of my personal
I
experiences
didn't.
that makes me think that I interpret in a way to say that there is no God, if I tell that to you, then you're going to believe that there is no God?
I didn't saying that exactly
Okay,
that.
well, that's what I would need you to say
Well,
in order for me to give you
why?
my personal experience.
But
Otherwise, you're
why?
agreeing that personal experience has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I'm
And
gonna do
I
what you have
already
to
think that
say.
personal experience has nothing to do with what we're talking about, so we probably shouldn't be talking about personal experience, right?
Well, that's. I mean, why would I be on here talking to you about a God that I believe in, that I know I have a personal and prayers and miracles work, and or God's alive today because of what He did in my life.
That has
And
nothing to do.
I was a
Philly,
musical band,
again,
so I
Philly,
prayed and God.
again, what I'm telling you is you already know that I could tell you my personal experience that leads me to believe there are no gods, and it would not change your position. You would not stop believing in God. If that's the case, that you wouldn't stop believing in God based on my personal experiences, I don't know why you think that I should start believing in God based on your personal experiences. That sounds like you're asking me to hold a different standard of evidence than the one you hold for your own beliefs. That's completely unreasonable, Philly. So what I'm asking you to do, it sounds like, because we were supposed to be talking about fine tuning, and we've gotten way off on fine tuning. So I'm just going to ask you one more time, and then if you don't have anything, I'm going to move on. Do you have some argument or evidence that would give me a reason to believe in a God?
Can I ask you one question, please?
What is the question?
Just one. I didn't know. Were you a Christian before, or you were just atheist?
I was raised Christian.
And you did your own study? Is that what it?
And I decided as a teenager that I cared whether or not the things I believed to be true were actually true. As soon as I decided that I actually cared whether or not the things I thought were true, in fact, I could no longer believe in God. It became extremely obvious to me as soon as I made that decision that I didn't actually believe in Jesus or in God because it was true. I believed it because it felt good, because people had told me that I should believe it. I believed it for a lot of really dumb reasons. And as soon as I realized that, I couldn't continue believing. I was no longer convinced. Okay. And all I've done since is try to find truth. Now, I've failed a bunch of times at finding truth. I've believed a lot of really, really stupid things. And I'm sure that there are things that I believe right now that in 5 years I'll think was really stupid, right? All I care about, though, is continuing to do my best to get closer to having more true beliefs and fewer false beliefs. That's why I'm never going to believe something based on faulty evidence. Like faith. Faith can never justify a belief, so I won't justify any of my beliefs with faith. I'm only going to use rational, good arguments and actual evidence that raise the probability of a proposition being true. That's all I care about. It sounds like you don't have anything like that for God. I appreciate the conversation. I do, Jonathan, but I'm going to go ahead and move on.
Jonathan, Ogre, hold on a second. The thing is, you digress. But it doesn't make sense. Like, you're just like, because did you have personal experience with God? Did you ever?
I thought I did.
You thought you did.
Yeah, and then as soon as I stopped believing in it, I realized that I had just been lying to myself because it felt good. All right, so you asked your one last question, and you asked two or three more questions after that.
That's all I have.
All right, I hope you have a good night. Okay. Whoa! Hey, Poopman Jones, thank you. Also, thank you to everybody else supporting both sides. Lupine, more Poopman Jones sent a bunch of support. Godless Heathen, thank you. Bradley Cooper, thank you. I don't know what this is. 7-Up. Angel, Lupine, Godless Heathen. Oh, Umbrella Girls sent in support. Alan. Yeah, thank you all very, very, very much for the support. Good to see you too, Moon. All right, so I will bring up the next person. I am going to go in the order that people requested. So if I don't get to you next, it's because somebody requested before you. I do want to check one thing before I bring up the next guest. Just ask you to bear with me for a moment here. Okay. Okay, doesn't look like... Oh, maybe Yogi's connecting? Hello?
I'm just in my mom's car right now. Let me just go on my side real quick, if you can give me...
Yeah, no, that was a 12-year-old, so I'm good. Child. Nope. All right, so it looks like we have Jimmy, then Red, then Kevin, and a couple more. I'll try to get to everybody if I can. Please make sure if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Before I do bring up the next person, I just want to say thank you to Dan and Brandon, Poopman Jones, everybody else for the support. Thank you. So it looks like we have Jimmy next. Hi, Jimmy, are you at least 18?
Yeah.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
Christian God.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
All right, so I'm not going to sit here like debate you like crazy, but I do want to ask you questions. Is that okay?
Well, I'm asking you for an argument or evidence.
Okay. how do you think the universe was created? Like, how do you how do you think the universe was created?
Um, I reject the question because of a faulty presumption, presupposition. So, what's the argument or evidence that would lead me to believe that God exists?
I mean, just basically like how everything is just so perfect.
What do
Like
you mean
how
by
the
perfect?
earth is like the earth. Like bro, like I'm not. I can't really like debate you like that.
So, the word
That's
perfect just means Earth?
like everything is just like the planets is aligned, and okay, you're atheist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like the way you put your faith into atheism
I don't have
is
any
the way.
faith. I don't put any faith into atheism. That, again,
Okay,
all you're doing is making presuppositions, and I'm never going to buy your argument based on a bunch of presuppositions that I don't already agree with. So you need to start
okay,
from somewhere that I can agree and then get to God, not by making assumptions about me and trying to tell me that I believe things I don't believe. Do you
okay,
have any argument or evidence that would lead us to believe in a God?
okay, okay. I'm not gonna debate. I just do want to say one more thing before I leave. That's it. That's it. I'm gonna just say something. Okay, look.
All right. So we'll move on to the next person. If you are in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus, that you believe in a God, that we are not going to talk about personal experience, and also, this is very important, that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. If you don't have that, I'm just going to move on. Thanks, Lem, and Grandpa, and Bradley, and Brandon, and everybody else for the support. Thank you. Hi, Red. Are you at least 18?
I'm 18. Yeah, I'm older than 18.
Cool. And what God do you believe in?
I think Jesus Christ, I think.
Okay. What's the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
It's not, I wouldn't say, my intelligence is limited, so I'm not really, I can't really give you evidence on that. But I mean, all I want to say is that whenever you believe in God, that means that you have faith in God.
Yeah, and I
And
think
having
faith is a
faith,
bad thing to have. I think faith is probably the worst thing that exists in humanity.
hmm
It is the cause of the vast majority of our problems as a species. So faith is a horrible, horrible thing. And if you're saying the only way to believe in God is through faith, then that's just one more reason why we should completely
so,
get rid of
but
all God beliefs. So
no,
knowing
just,
knowing that I
yeah.
have no interest in talking about anything that has anything to do with faith, what would you say is a good reason or a piece of evidence or argument why I should believe in God that has nothing to do with faith? If you say faith
But
again, I'm just going to move on.
but just would you allow me to give you to explain you something that has to do with faith? But I
No.
mean,
Nope, I just told you no.
the thing is, it's an advantage.
Okay. Well, if all you want
Will
to
it?
talk about is faith, then you can go talk about that somewhere else. I'm not here to talk about faith. I'm here to actually have genuine, productive conversations about whether or not there's justification to believe in a God. Faith has no part in that conversation. That which can be asserted without evidence can be rejected without evidence. All right. Hi, Kevin. Are you at least 18?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. Yeah.
And what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
All right. Have you ever opened the Bible ever?
Yeah.
Have you read any of it?
Yeah.
All right. So, like reading a book, like there's fiction and nonfiction books,
Mm-hmm.
and the Bible has true evidence of.
Yeah. I mean, that's the claim. Why should I think that there is evidence that God exists? Just telling me that there's evidence doesn't give me any evidence.
The only way I would be able to give you evidence is being there, and the day he arose from the cave, and the rock moved, and he arose the next day.
Okay.
Yeah,
And there's absolutely no evidence that that actually happened. So we obviously, that's not a good thing to go to if we're trying to provide evidence. So what would actually be the evidence that a God exists?
I believe everything has a creator. Everything, like humans, the
Okay,
world.
so you're saying that everything that exists has a creator?
Yeah.
Does God
Everything.
exist?
Yes.
Okay, so God has a creator?
No, God is the creator of all.
No, hold on. You don't get to just like run away from the stuff that you said after you say it. I'll put this up here. So you said everything that exists has a creator. And 2, God exists. Conclusion, God has a creator. Now, where I'm going to go from there is that if God exists, then God does not have a creator. And so then our second conclusion should be God exists and God does not exist. So now, because of your principle that you introduced into the conversation that everything that exists has a creator, we now come to a contradictory conclusion that God both exists and does not exist. Obviously, contradictions can't be true. So if positing God's existence leads us to the conclusion that God does not exist, the only reasonable conclusion that we can draw is that we shouldn't believe both of those things. We should just believe that God doesn't exist. So what I would do if I was in your position is I would stop saying everything that exists has a creator, because that's what got you in this pickle. Please don't eat while we're talking. You can eat when we're done, or you can leave and eat now.
I'm sorry, hold up. All right,
So what's an actual... So do you agree that you probably shouldn't hold the position that everything that exists has a creator because it leads you to contradictions?
Do you think there's a creator of all? Do you think something created?
You don't get to ask a question in order to get out of the question that I asked you. What's your answer to my question?
What was the question?
Do you agree that since holding the position everything that exists has a creator means that there's a contradiction in your view, that you should get rid of that from your view?
No, not really.
Okay, so you think that believing in you think that believing in contradictions is a good thing to do?
No.
Okay. Do you think that contradictions can be true?
Yes.
Okay, well, then you're just rejecting logic at this point, unless you think that you can provide a defense for dialetheism.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I kind of thought that you probably didn't. So if you don't know what dialetheism is, then you probably don't actually have any logical support for why you think that contradictions can exist, which means that you probably shouldn't hold the position that contradictions can exist. Saying that A is true and A is not true at the same time, that's a contradiction. That, from my perspective... Okay, well, you can go eat. It doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere anyway, so you have a good one. Yeah, the only way that you can believe in God is to reject logic. All right, so if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Ariel, are you at least 18?
All right. Hi, I am 22.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jehovah God.
Okay, so you're Jewish?
No, I'm currently in between denominations, but I do believe in God. I'm just trying to figure out which denomination might fit me best. I'm leaning more towards Jehovah's Witness at the moment.
Okay, but you are a Christian. You're just trying to decide
Yes.
which type of Christian you want to be?
Yes.
Okay, and what would you say is the
Yes.
best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Okay. I would like to first say that I respect you as an atheist, and I respect all atheists, because I do believe that it's very challenging to have a belief in God in a system that is so destroyed and so broken now.
That has nothing to do with why I don't believe. I don't appreciate this, like, I don't know, attempt to glaze and like get favor or something.
That's why you don't believe. I'll just get to my point. I apologize.
Thank you.
I was just saying. A lot of people come on here and act disrespectful towards atheists. So I was just trying to let you know that I
I
respect your belief.
I do
That's all.
appreciate the intention, Ariel, but I'll be honest with you. What I would consider respectful in this conversation is to just get to the point and have the
Okay.
actual conversation and not talk about having the conversation.
Oh no, understood.
Okay, so what's the
Um,
argument or evidence?
So the reason I believe in God is because I have established that life has a purpose. And the purpose of life is to exist, to be happy, to create, not only to work for ourselves, but create art, create music, to travel the world, when I look at the world, I see not the current world, it's a lot of negatives that I see. But when I think about things like, I'll look at a tree and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like this tree has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years past even the life expectancy of a human is like, let's say in America's, I believe is like 80 years. So when I look at a tree, I'm like, this tree can exist for thousands and thousands of years. Our purpose has to be that we were meant to plant that tree and exist long enough for us to see things like that grow.
Yeah, this
It's
has
just
nothing to do. This is just you like looking at random features of reality and drawing unsubstantiated conclusions from them. What I care about is actual arguments and evidence where we can connect the things we're experiencing in the world to the conclusion, right? So we want to start with the thing that we agree on, and I want you to draw me from there to the conclusion that God exists. Right now, what you're doing is what's called a Gish Gallop. What you're doing is you're just like pointing at a bunch of different things, bringing up a whole bunch of different stuff, not connecting any of it, and none of it actually gets us to God. And then it looks like I'm not able to respond to everything, and then it looks like you somehow like got something over on me or whatever. It's a debate tactic. I know I don't think that you're doing it maliciously, but it is a
Okay.
debate tactic that people use because it makes it seem like your opponent isn't addressing your arguments, and then it seems like you've somehow won some point or whatever. All I'm interested in is honing in on one specific point at a time about why we should believe in a God. Now, it can be some specific piece of evidence that you want to present that you think raises the probability of God's existence. It could be like a philosophical argument that you think, validly and soundly concludes that a God exists. I'm open to whatever, but we have to pick a specific thing, and I need you to bring me from a specific thing that you and I both agree on to God existing.
Okay, so as an atheist, may I just ask you, would you accept the Bible as evidence, or
No, the
we
Bible
cannot
is the
use-
claim.
Okay.
The claim is not the evidence that the claim is true, right? Like, I mean, maybe in like specific situations where, like, if I told you that I had a ham sandwich earlier today, like, probably that, just me saying that is probably enough for you to be reasonable to believe it. And if you told me that you had a ham sandwich earlier today, I'd probably just believe it based on that. But we're not talking about whether or not one of us had a ham sandwich today. We're talking about whether or not there's a personal, ultimate grounding to reality. That's a much bigger claim, and it requires much higher standards of evidence.
Okay, so well then this is okay. I'll just go ahead and leave the debate, because I was just, at first I figured that I shouldn't start with biblical evidence as somebody who is atheist. Obviously, you pointed out that is just, you don't believe that the Bible is actually fact. So I guess any point that I make stemming from that's why I was trying to go with purpose first. I could just talk about how, in Genesis, and how when God created the earth, he said, be fruitful and multiply and enjoy the earth and things like that. And that everything will be in subjection to you, the earth, the plants,
Yeah, you don't have to tell me that stuff, because you already know that it doesn't get us anywhere, so you're just wasting time right now.
Yeah, and I understand that. So I think that's why, I think that's, my bad. I think that I'm not qualified to have this debate with you, in the sense that I was just going to talk about how the Bible became real to me and what evidence in the Bible became real to me. So I understand that's not what you're looking for. So I apologize for joining and starting off with that. Then I guess we're just looking more for people to do different things. I apologize about that.
Yeah, I want to actually hear some kind of argument or evidence that would make make it reasonable to believe in a God, and it doesn't sound like that's the kind of conversation that you're looking to have, which is totally fine. But I thank you for being honest, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
No, you too. Appreciate that.
Take care. All right. All right, so if you are in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. See if.
Hey, how you doing, bro?
Hey, Flexo, what have you got for me?
I wanted to pick up the conversation we had previously, like 2 lives ago. It was about I brought up how certain scriptures around in Jesus' times point towards like Tacitus. Let me see, let me get some more source for you after I state this claim. But they will all agree to unanimous like agreement about how Jesus did teach and how he was a teacher.
No,
And
no. What Tacitus and Josephus say is they basically just make mentions that people believed in Jesus and some of the things that people believed about Jesus. But them saying that people believed those things is exactly what we would expect, whether Jesus really existed or not. Just saying people believe something tells us nothing about whether or not the thing that they believed was true, especially when the thing when it wasn't written down until decades and decades after it was supposed to have happened. So like I don't understand why, like if Josephus wasn't born until decades after Jesus died and then didn't write until decades after that, and then Tacitus was even later after that, I don't know why we should take anything that they wrote down as evidence of something from Jesus's lifetime. It seems like it's just evidence about what people believed decades and decades after Jesus was supposedly alive. That doesn't tell us anything about what actually happened, right? Like I could probably point to like whether it be like Jim Jones or David Koresh or any number of cult leaders. You talk about the Heaven's Gate cult, right? Like just saying what those people believed. Like if a historian writes down or somebody makes a documentary about Jonestown and the documentary explains what the people who went to Jonestown and the people who died there believed in, just reporting what they believed has nothing to do with whether or not the things they believed were true, right? So that's what I'm interested in is why should I think the things that Josephus and Tacitus said people believed were actually true? And no, neither Josephus nor Tacitus address that, so we can't use them as sources to answer this question.
okay, so what I would say to that is it's not so I see what you're saying, right? But I would look at it from a narrow like rewriting of documented history. So like if a person came, right, and how Jesus came and walked, and somebody was to write or speak about him and give it to their son or give it to a relative or a close friend, and then they go and write down, or they go and, you know what I'm saying, he said, she said type situation. Now there are fallacies with that because a lot of information can get misinterpreted, or somebody not remember what was actually like said. But I feel like the evidence that we have such writings, and it was all pointing towards like it wasn't so different. You see what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, oh, Jesus was blue and then Jesus was red, not like that. But it all agrees unanimously that Jesus was red. You see what I'm saying? Like let me see if I can find other sources.
Even if all the people believed the exact same thing, that doesn't tell us anything about whether or not their beliefs were true. And that's what I'm interested in, is whether or not the beliefs are true, right? I think that, like, you agree that if I went to, let's say that I went to India and I talked to a Hindu community and I wrote down all of the things that they believe about their religion and, all their mythology and everything, I write it all down. Do you think that just the fact that I wrote down what those people believed, if somebody reads that, my writings 1,000 years later, should they assume that everything those people believed was true?
No, of course not.
Okay. Do you think that they should assume that anything those people believed was true, or should they not make assumptions and try to verify what is or isn't true about what those people believed?
I would say like the verification would be a problem due to like limited
Nope, that's not my
technology and
question,
due to-
Flexo. What
Okay, well, wait.
if I take a trip to India and I talk to a community of Hindu people and I write down all of their beliefs, and then somebody picks up that book 1,000 years later and reads what I wrote down, what should they do to determine whether or not the things that I wrote down that those people believed are actually true? How should they figure that out?
I would say look back at what was going on during that time period, analyze the text, see what was happening at that time, see if you have any other sources like that's in there, and you can go research like if it talks about like an emperor or talks about important figure, you can go research that important figure, see if they were accurately at that time that they were described in that text, or
Yeah, but that wouldn't
or
tell you
anything.
whether the supernatural claims are true. Like, for example, let's say that I included some details in there about how Donald Trump is the president of the United States right now, and like if I included other historical information about wars that are happening, the conflict in the Middle East, and like let's say that I write all of that in there. I even list all of the major world leaders, the leaders of China and Russia and the European countries and Australia and major African countries, and I write all of that in my story, and then the people reading it later go back and they confirm that all of those details are true. Does that mean that they should also believe all of the mythological and supernatural claims that I wrote down?
No, but I feel like that it would point you towards, okay, it could be true,
I
and then
disagree.
you just, okay, and I see what you're saying, because there's no way to, I can't prove that the claims that the Bible make about like him resurrecting are true. I just
It's not
go
even that you
off of
can't
what.
prove it. You can't even provide a little bit of like any degree of evidence. Like, I'm not even asking you to prove it, because prove implies like be 100% certain. I'm asking you
Yeah.
to get me over 50% certain, and I don't think you can even get me to 1% certain.
Hmm.
And I'm not just
Yeah.
trying to be hard on
So
you, Flexo. I think that we've
yeah.
had
No.
really
No.
good
No. I
conversations,
understand it.
and
Yeah.
hopefully
It,
just like I know that you're honest in these conversations, and that's part of why I like talking to you so much. Hopefully you know that I'm being honest too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like we're just two, you know what I'm saying? I can't prove how the universe, we're just, you know what I'm saying, having critical thinking, thinking logically and rationally about what could be, like not what is, but what it could be, you know what I'm saying? And I really respect it, because it gives you an insight on yourself, like how, like, you know what I'm saying, you interpret things and go about life. So I respect it. I commend it. But what I would say to that is, it just comes down to trust. Like if you trust these scripts that we have, like in the Bible, if you trust them, because they do make a lot of truth claims and do make a lot of other claims, and you can find like doing just regular research, Hebrew scholars have found plethora of things that the Bible prophesies was going to happen or did happen, and they
Do
couldn't
you
explain that.
do you think that if I, in my book that I was telling you about writing about a Hindu community in India, if I included in that book quote unquote predictions like there will continue to be tensions in the Middle East, and I put in that book that major world powers will have armed conflict in the next 10 years, or if I put in there any like there's like somebody will eat a sandwich, like these are things that are so mundane and so like basically guaranteed to happen that they're not actually predictions. It's like if I made a quote unquote prediction that it'll rain in Seattle in the next year. Well, like obviously it's going to rain in Seattle a lot over the next year. An actual prediction would be or a prophecy would be a prediction that is extremely specific, extremely clear, and could only possibly be fulfilled by one instance of one event. There's only one specific event that could fulfill it. If we have these like um Nostradamus style prophecies where it's all poetry and it's all like vague and mysterious, yeah, you can interpret it a million different ways and look through history to try to find something that sounds similar. And that's you know you can, if you already believe in the source, then that's going to seem compelling, but it only is compelling because you already believe in it. If you're on the outside, like for example, if I told you that the Quran has predictions and has scientific information in it that nobody who was alive at the time the Quran was written could possibly have known, you're not going to buy that. Just like I don't buy that argument from Muslims. But the only reason that you and I don't buy it and the Muslims do is it sounds so convincing to them because they already believe in it. And I feel like that's what you're doing, Flexo, is you already believe in Jesus, you already believe in these things, and then the stories that support them sound really good to you because they confirm the things that you already believe. So I just want to say one more thing and I'll stop rambling. What I really want to point out to you is this concept called confirmation bias. What happens is when we already believe something and we take in new information, our brains want to categorize and interpret that information in the way that will fit best with the things that we already believe and ways that confirm the things that we already believe. And when we get new information that contradicts what we already believe, our brains are wired in a way where we're probably going to try to dismiss that. So what we should be doing, what I think is important for everyone to do, and this is something I take seriously myself, is we should be more critical. We should spend more time investigating claims that sound good to us than claims that don't sound good to us, because claims that don't sound good to us, we're already going to be critical of naturally, and we're already going to do our research before we buy into it. Claims that sound good, we're not going to do that same level of inquiry and investigation before we buy it, and naturally we are just inclined not to do that. So I think that what we should be doing is making a conscious effort to be more critical of the things that sound good to us than the things that don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, wholeheartedly. That does make sense. I wanted to point out one thing you said. You said that for prophecy to actually be like a prophecy, that it had to be without any other cause, right? And in the Bible, there were claims in the Old Testament where it stated that a Messiah was going to come, and these people, right? These people never knew when the Messiah was come. But
but none of those
we
prophecies
first,
were fulfilled, Flexo. None of them.
um,
Jesus did
even
not
the
fulfill a single prophecy from the Old Testament.
even the one about the woman at the well, right? The woman at the rail, she had her family, whatchamacallit, told her that she would meet a certain someone, and it came to pass with the Messiah. So and
No, hold on. This is not a prophecy. This is just a story in the New Testament about something that happened during Jesus's life. This isn't a prediction for something that is going to happen. This is supposed to just be a retelling of something that already happened, right? Like, this is just people writing down something that they believe already happened. This is not a prophecy. This is not a prediction. The messianic predictions, like, are things like saying that the Messiah would be a triumphant king who would bring all of the tribes of Israel together and make all of the other non-Israel nations bow down to Yahweh. Well, Jesus didn't do that. Jesus wasn't a king of anywhere. He wasn't triumphant in any way. He didn't win any wars like the Messiah was supposed to. And he also didn't abolish all of the other governments and religion like the Messiah was supposed to do. So, like, all of the predictions in the Old Testament about the Messiah failed. Every single one of them failed, especially in Jesus. Jesus didn't fulfill any of them. And then the places in the New Testament where it claims that Jesus fulfilled prophecies, it's just nonsense. It's just made up bullshit. Like, there's a part where it says that he fulfilled the prophecy of riding a donkey into Jerusalem, but that prophecy says the person who's supposed to be riding that donkey is a victorious king who cut off the war horses and the battle bow, a king that humbled all of the other nations. Jesus didn't do any of that stuff. So that prophecy couldn't have been about Jesus, but the New Testament claims that it is about Jesus anyway. That's how you know that the Gospels are lying to you. They're just making shit up, and people believe it because they're taught to believe it.
okay, I have never heard that argument, so I'll have to look into that again. But
I
could it not
recommend
be
looking up
talking about?
Deconstruction Zone. His name is Justin. He goes by Deconstruction Zone here on TikTok and on YouTube. I strongly recommend looking into him. He is somebody who was a Christian, was a minister, went to seminary. He went and he learned Hebrew and Greek so that he could read the original biblical texts in their original languages. This is a very, very educated person. And the reason why I feel confident in saying that Jesus didn't fulfill any prophecies is because I've heard, not only have I heard him make that claim, I've heard him talk to countless Christians and educated Christians who claim that they can show that Jesus fulfilled a prophecy, and not a single one of them has ever been able to do it. He's talked to people with PhDs. He's talked to people who also have gone to seminary. He's talked to ministers. He's talked to all kinds of people from all different walks of life. Every single one of them that he talks to about this prophecy stuff tries to show any number of prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. Not a single one of them has ever been able to do it. One of the jokes that Justin will make that I find humorous is that the only prophecy Jesus ever fulfilled was the prophecy from Deuteronomy where it said that there would be false prophets. Jesus, if he's anything, is a false prophet. He's not a Messiah. Couldn't be.
So could the Bible not be referring to future prophecies that are yet to come? So like when
Right,
you,
but that's
you
a
said
prophecy that isn't fulfilled. If we're talking about what prophecies are fulfilled, then we can't be talking about prophecies that you think will be fulfilled eventually. We have to be talking about prophecies that have already been fulfilled.
Yeah, I see what you. I just never heard that argument. I just have to look into that again. I'm not
Yeah.
well versed on that.
Check out
So
Justin. Check out Deconstruction Zone.
Okay, I got
He's
you.
much
Yeah,
better at this than I am, by a wide margin.
Yeah, I'm really into like enhancing my intelligence, and I'm nice to admit when I'm wrong. Like I have no problem to admit when I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong wholeheartedly, I'm gonna say it.
Flexo,
But
that's why I love you, man. Like you're
yeah,
awesome.
thank you, bro. Yeah, no, it's kind of like enhancing my, you know what I'm saying, brain in a way because I see other people's point of view, and I have to look at it from their point of view, you know what I'm saying, instead of just throwing it out, instead of just because it really does matter. Like this affects people's lives, this affects a lot of stuff that's going on in the country and around us and in the world in general. So if I can help, you know what I'm saying, uncover the truth, then I would, you know what I'm saying, for sure, wholeheartedly.
I'm with you.
But I just have to look into this. But yeah, thank you for talking to me. Deconstruction Zone. I'm about to go look that up and right now. Got my food in the oven. Yeah, appreciate it, bro.
All right. Well, thank you for another fantastic conversation, Flexo.
Yeah,
I mean it. I love you,
of
man,
course.
and I wish nothing but the best for you.
Yeah, take care, bro.
You too. Awesome. W's for Flexo in the chat, folks. Every time I feel like we have good conversations. We still don't have the same positions or the same opinions, and that's totally fine with me. Oh, thanks for the support, Flexo. Okay, so we do have a bunch of people requesting, so we'll get to as many of them as we can. Please make sure... quickly, first I want to say thank you to Quigley and to Drew and Mikey and SciTech Nature and Quigley and Drew and Mikey and Peacemonger and Grandpa, Bradley, Poopman Jones, Lem, Grandpa, Bradley Jones, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Sincerely, I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll move on to the next person. If you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, just make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. So we'll go on to John here. Hi, John. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
I would say the creation of the universe.
Why should I think the universe is created?
Because it can't just spawn out of nothing.
Okay. I don't think anybody believes that. Well, nobody other than Christians thinks that the universe spawned out of nothing. So that's not compelling to me because I don't believe that the universe spawned out of nothing. So it sounds like neither of us believes that. Well, if you don't think the universe spawned out of nothing, then neither of us thinks that. So that has nothing to do with this conversation. Why should I think that God exists? Why should I think the universe was created?
No. Before you try to deflect and move on, what I think this is as a discussion, I think I'm allowed to ask. So if you don't believe that the universe just spawned out of nothing, how do you think the universe came to be?
Let's imagine that I have no idea how the universe came into existence.
No, I'm asking.
And I don't know anything about whether the universe came into existence. Why should I believe that the universe was created?
No, I'm asking. How do you?
Yeah, I know. And I'm saying that it's irrelevant. The purpose of this conversation is about whether or not there is justification to believe in God. You're saying that the justification to believe in God is that the universe was created. I don't currently believe that the universe was created, so why should I believe that?
So what do you believe about the universe? How do you think we came into being?
Okay. You don't get to try to pivot and ask me questions because you're afraid to answer the question that I'm asking you.
You didn't even answer my question.
I know. That's because
In
you
the
only
first
asked
place.
it to get out of answering my question. I asked
No,
you
I
a
did
question,
not.
and you're just
I
asking
was-
me questions to get out of the question you're supposed to be answering. So I'm not going to let you do that. So your choices now are to either answer the question, listen to me berate you for not answering the question, or leave. So which of those do you want to do?
Okay. So the question, I guess, is still, what was it, that why should you believe in that the universe was created?
Correct.
Because looking around you, things that are made or came into existence and are the way that they are today, you can look at them and think that they happened just by, you have two options, unless there's more that I'm unaware of. One option being evolution, i.e. the like science, I guess, explanation for it. And then you could look at the other option, which would be there being a creator. Not specifically the God of the Bible, but just saying in general. So if you were to look at,
Why should I think that
things,
those are the only two options?
no, that's what I was saying. To my knowledge, and I mean,
I don't know. The question is, you're presenting it as though this is some kind of dichotomy, that it has to be one of these two things. Why should I think that it could only be one of those two things?
because logically speaking, what else could it be?
That's a question. I'm not
I
asking.
know.
You're doing the same thing you did before, John. You're, instead of answering the question that I'm asking you, because you know it's a difficult question and it exposes the problem in your argument, you're pretending that you don't have to answer it and you can just ask a different question and run away from the question I'm asking you. That's
I'm not
cowardice,
trying.
John. That's
I'm not trying
cowardice.
to run up.
You
I'm
have
not
John
trying to.
Wick in
I'm
your
not
name.
running
Act
away.
like a man of will and focus, and actually focus here and so summon your will to answer the question. My question to you is, why should I? Well, actually, you know what? That's a fucking irrelevant question. Well, nothing that you've said gives me any reason to believe that the universe was created. I'm going to repeat back to you what you've said, and hopefully you can hear how dumb this sounds. Looking around you, things that are made or came into existence and are the way that they are today, you can look at them and think that they happen just by, you have two options, evolution, and then you could look at the other option of there being a creator. Like, do you agree that, like, that didn't actually say anything of substance? Because I don't see anything of substance in that.
Well, that being only part of it, before you before you did whatever just happened and went off on that.
Yeah, what I'm
Yeah,
asking you is to
that's
actually
not
give me
fully,
some
but
kind of justification to believe that the universe was created. You're claiming that we should believe the universe was created because the only two options are either evolution or it was created. Well, the problem here, John, is that there's tons and tons and tons and tons of evidence for evolution, and there, as far as I can tell, is a grand total of zero evidence to believe in God. Now, let's pretend, Poopman Jones has a good point. Let's pretend that I kidnapped your dog, or I beat up your dog, and the only way that you can get your dog back is to demonstrate that God exists. How would you do that?
how would I do that? This would probably be one of my number one, aside from obviously personal experiences. This would probably be one of my.
Yeah, just saying that you don't believe in evolution, therefore God must have done it? That's the best
Nope.
you have?
Again, this was not. That was.
Okay, then
That
just
is like
give
the
the
first
actual
part.
argument. If all of that stuff that you said was irrelevant, then give the actual argument.
I never said that all. I was never going to say all that stuff was irrelevant. You're literally putting stuff in my mouth, in
Can
words
you
in my
please just
mouth.
give the argument?
I did, but hey, if you're not, those who are not willing to hear, willing to
Now it's
listen,
my
I
fault,
mean,
right?
you know,
Even though I wrote down everything that you said while you were saying it and I read it back to you, I just wasn't listening, huh?
in a debate, do you think that questions both ways are not allowed, or are you just going to, or is it just spinning things like this
You can
to work
definitely
in your
ask
favor?
clarifying questions, but you haven't been trying to ask clarifying
I
questions.
wasn't asking you a
You've been trying to
clarifying
ask
question.
dodging questions. The
No, I was
questions that you're
asking.
asking me, John, have nothing to do with you being able to demonstrate that God exists or demonstrating that the universe was created or any of those things. You haven't asked a question that is relevant to your ability to do that. If you had,
No,
I would have answered. Instead, what you're doing is you're trying to run away from your burden in this debate. So, I'm going to ask you one last time, why should I think the universe was created?
no. First off, what was happening was, yes, I was asking you.
Okay, so we're not going to do the meta. We're not going to do your recap here. Either you're going to provide some kind of argument or evidence for why I should think the universe was created, or I'm just going to move on. Which do you prefer?
I don't know what happened.
I
Honestly,
muted
bro,
you because you were getting off into irrelevant shit. So the options in front of you right now are to either provide some kind of argument or evidence that would make me believe that the universe was created, or I can move on.
nah, yeah. With all due respect, bro, appreciate your time,
All
but
right. Well, have
this
a good
is
one.
obviously gonna go to.
All right. If your position relies on the universe being created, then you better be able to demonstrate that the universe was created, right? If that's the foundation of your argument. Yeah. All right. So if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in a God. Before I bring up, looks like trading is next. I just want to say thank you again for all of the support, everybody. We've got both sides, Lupine, Poopman Jones, Grandpa No Pivot, more support from Lupine, Peacemonger. Thank you very, very much for the support, everybody. Sincerely. And Poopman Jones just going nuts. Even more support. Thank you. Okay, so we have Come Up Trading next.
Yes.
Hi, Trading. Are you at least 18?
Yes, I'm 18.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
A Christian God.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Okay, all right. Since I must commend you. You have a very rational approach.
Okay,
So,
this isn't glazing hour. What's the best
no,
argument
I'm
or
not
evidence?
glazing, and I don't want you to use
Sure. So just give the argument.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now, do you agree that for there to be an effect, there must be a cause?
I don't know why I would think that has to be the case.
Well, since you're so based on logics, if I see a car, logically, I'm going to presume that that was the creation of something. Now, from an earthly perspective, that would be the creation of a human.
Well, you understand that we
TV.
have background information about how cars were created. We don't have background information about humans being created in any way other than, sexual procreation, IVF, those types of things. We know how human procreation happens, and we know that it doesn't have to involve anything supernatural. But again, we have background information that we know that when cars are created, it is actually an intelligent agent creating them. So our background information on these things are completely different, so we should not be trying to compare them. So now that we both agree that these things are completely different and not related in any important way, why should I think that a God exists?
Now, there's stuff that can be definitively proven, and there's stuff that can be arrived at through deduction. And that is how a lot of inventions have been made.
This has nothing to do. This is just all irrelevant, tangential bullshit.
Let me finish my point respectfully. So, for example, look at life. Life is so continuous, yet it's so delicate. So, whatsoever was the source of life is a greater force than any form of human intelligence. For example, me or you cannot revive something that has lost that fragile thing called
this is all
life.
irrelevant. Why should I think that a God exists?
No, listen, let me finish my point. Now, I don't know what your definition of a God is, but for me, a definition of a God is the one who created life. Now, that is the same force that created you.
Yeah, that's the claim.
You can't create yourself. Let me finish.
No, hold on. Stop. All you're doing is continuing to make your claims. I don't want to hear any more claims. What I want is some argument or evidence that would justify the claims being true. Is that something that you can do? And that's a yes or no question. And you're still muted. You can unmute yourself, and I'm asking for a yes or no answer to my question. Are you able to provide an argument or evidence, or are you just going to keep rambling and making claims? You got to unmute yourself. No, you don't want to unmute and talk? Fair enough. All right. If you're... All right. Okay, so if you are in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, LNC, or whatever your name is. Are you at least 18?
Yes, I'm 18.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
All right. So the earth, like, do you think like the world is like man-made, like created by human?
The earth itself?
Yes, earth.
No, the earth has existed a lot longer than humans.
Do you think anything like created earth?
Depends on what you mean by created. With intention, no.
I couldn't like, it's a date, like an event happening. Like, let's say 9/11, for example. You were alive for that, right? Like, alive for it?
Yeah.
All right. You weren't, if you had to tell somebody tens of thousands, like, years after the day that happened, how would you be able to tell them? I feel like
I don't know. I'll be dead.
No. Like,
like
you gotta, like,
I don't know. I would have to hope that I have evidence, and if I don't have evidence, I wouldn't blame them for not believing me. What's the point? What are we going?
No, what evidence would you have from something that happened today that you would tell somebody 5,000 years ago? You couldn't have. Do you believe anything that happened like before you were born? Do you believe in anything that happened?
Yeah, I believe that the earth existed before I was born. All I'm asking is for some kind of argument or evidence that would make me believe in God. So far, I have got nothing from you. Do you have any argument or evidence, or should I just move on? And remember that providing an argument or evidence, neither of those requires you to ask me questions.
Just why not pick the faithful option instead of?
Because faith is a poison. I don't want to poison myself.
It doesn't poison you at all. That's just,
faith is a poison.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Nope, it's not. Faith is a justification. It's an excuse to believe something that you don't have any other actual reason to believe. And believing things that you don't have a reason to believe is a guaranteed way to end up believing things that are false. Believing things that are false is going to do two very bad things. Number one, it's going to give you the mental structures, the epistemological foundation that's going to allow you to continue adding more and more new false beliefs to your belief system. And also, it's going to inform your actions, and taking actions based on false beliefs is a recipe for harming yourself and others. So yes, it is extremely harmful to believe things based on faith. That's why I take the position of moral evidentialism. So my question to you is, do you have any argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God, or do you only believe it based on faith?
Faith.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I appreciate that you are honest. I'm not looking to have a conversation about faith, so I will just move on. So we'll chalk another one up for... Oh, son of a stupid motherfucker. God damn it. All right. It's really sad when you can't type the word faith on a keyboard. That's my level of stupidity. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Lobes and Drew and Bear and Peacemonger and Nick and SciTech Nature sent a bunch of stuff. More from Poopman Jones. Just sincerely, guys, thank you very, very much for the support. Hi, Nick. Good to see you. Lobes, are you talking about your Faja? I love gold. All right, so we'll bring up, it looks like Delulu Aura Farm, then Johnny, then Gabriella. Please make sure that if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. Hi, Delulu Aura Farm. Are you at least 18?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Sounds good. I'm going to drop some stats and give you a real-time event. Okay, so 70% of people addicted get sober. 20 to 40% don't relapse.
Hold on. 70% of people who are addicted to what?
To something, we'll say rock. I don't want to get you. And then 20 to 40% don't relapse. That's leaving a 30 to 90% people who remain addicted or, happen to unalive due to overdose. Okay, so to get to the point, my father was addicted to rock for over 25 years. Okay, so that's not free will maxing. You're not free willingly stopping to get sober after 25 years of addiction. It's just completely impossible. And
No,
the
it's
stats
not
even
impossible.
show that. Okay, but no, let me continue. I found him overdosed under my kitchen table, unconscious, not breathing, unalive. Tell me how he's still here. And he's sober right now.
Okay, fantastic. That was a fun little detour into bullshit that doesn't matter. How about we talk about something that is actually relevant to the conversation? What would you say is
So
an actual argument or
God
evidence
can
that would provide
multiply-
justification to believe in a God?
listen, here. So God can multiply fish, multiply bread, turn water into wine, but he can't make a man sober.
Okay, so you don't have any argument or evidence?
That was exactly an argument and evidence. You're
Nope.
gonna just deny it because you can't handle truth. It's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
That
fun way to
is
cope,
extremely
I guess,
obvious.
if that's all you've got.
No, it's testimony. It's
Yeah,
very much
testimony is
testimony.
bullshit, dude. Like, do you think that if I
That's-
gave you,
hey man,
hey,
that's
if
up
I
to you,
gave
bro.
you, if I gave you some piece of testimony that I think gives me personal reason to believe in no gods, would you stop believing in God?
No, I would not.
Okay, fantastic. So if you're telling me, oh, you don't believe in testimony, it's as if I'm
I
supposed
never-
to change.
I
Stop
never
talking. Stop
told you
talking.
you had to
Stop
believe.
talking. If you're going to get mad at me for not changing my position because of your testimony, and then you're going to say that you also wouldn't change your position based on my testimony, there's a word for that, Delulu Orafarm. That word is hypocrisy. Obviously, you're not going to change your position based on my testimony. I wouldn't expect you to. That would be fucking stupid. So for the same reason, because I'm not that fucking stupid, I'm not going to change my position based on your testimony. So now that we've established that neither of us is going to change our position based on the other's testimony, let's try to see if we can have a productive conversation. So leaving testimony and faith and all that nonsense behind, what would be some argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
You completely dodged my argument, and then
Because you
cursed
didn't-
at
you
me,
didn't
bro.
give an
You're
argument.
just
I can't dodge
disrespectful,
something that
bro.
doesn't
You're bottom
exist.
of the barrel, bro. You're just disrespectful and arrogant.
So do you have any argument or evidence or not?
Dude, I just gave you my argument, and you
Okay,
literally
fantastic. When you don't give an argument, it's not possible to dodge the argument, right? I can't dodge an argument that was never given. All right, so again, if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Johnny. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
Cool. And what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
The supernatural. He's supernatural. That's why.
That's the
That's
claim.
the evidence of God.
That's the claim.
No, it's not a claim. God is supernatural. People like you live in the carnal, the flesh. If you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't hear it.
Why should
you
I
don't
think that
believe in it.
anything supernatural exists?
All you've got is you in this world. You're arrogant.
Are you capable
you're
of answering
arrogant,
questions,
and
Johnny?
God's wrath is going to strike you dead. Guaranteed.
Okay. Are you capable
You
of
think you're
answering
better than God?
questions?
You think you know more than God? You're a fool.
Well, obviously, I know
Why?
more than God. God doesn't exist, so God doesn't know
No, you don't
anything.
know
I know at
anything.
least
You're
some
arrogant.
things. So,
You
do
are
you have any
arrogant.
argument or evidence that
You
you'd
are
like to
arrogant,
present or no?
know-it-all.
Is that all you got, Johnny?
All you have is you.
Is this all you have?
Yeah, you're pathetic.
I know. I'm so pathetic. I'm so pathetic because you're the one that waited in the guest queue for how fucking long? For fucking half an hour? Just to come up here and yell at me?
That man has is himself and the world. And look at how he laughs. He's
Yeah?
a loser.
Oh man, I'm such a loser. And that's why you wasted all that time waiting so you could talk to me, right?
Your life is nothing but you've been in jail too, haven't you?
Oh man, I spent so much time in jail. I go to jail every weekend just for funsies. You know why I go to
You've been in
jail every
prison,
weekend
dude.
is because I get
I
to
can
have
tell
lots of
right now.
unprotected gay sex
You've
there.
been in prison.
It's so much
Your
fun.
life is nothing but conflict.
Oh, I
because
know. I
all
have
you
so
got
much
is you
conflict in my
this
life.
world. You got nothing but conflict. Your whole life is a mess. You're a mess. You're an ex-junkie too.
Oh,
You're
yeah?
an addict.
Oh, man. I'm just,
Yeah, the
it's
only
so
hope
terrible.
You got is Jesus Christ. The only hope you got is Jesus Christ.
That's right. That's right. I
the
should
only
believe
hope
in
you
fairy
got.
tales to get it
Because all
myself,
you
get my
got
life
is you
together,
in
right?
this world.
So you're saying if I
You
believe in
believe
fairy
in a
tales, that would
cardinal.
fix all my
That's why
problems?
You live in the flesh. That's why you're an addict. That's
Uh-huh.
why you are an
Oh,
addict.
I'm such
You
an
live in
addict.
the
You're right.
flesh.
You're right. Can you remind me
You
what I'm
live in the
addicted to?
flesh, the cardinal.
What am I
You
addicted
don't
to,
have
Johnny?
any concept of
Johnny.
the supernatural.
Johnny, what
which
am I
is
addicted
God.
to? What am I addicted to?
You're addicted to everything, dude.
Oh, I'm addicted to
Sex,
everything. Oh my
drugs,
God, I forgot
alcohol,
everything.
That's right. That's all
Man, oh
you
man,
went
I
through
forgot
the
all
list,
those
dude.
substances that I'm addicted to that
You
I've been
went through
doing.
the list.
Definitely
You
all
went
those
through the list.
substances.
You've
As
been
you
in
can
prison,
tell,
too.
I mean, you could probably
You got
tell
a criminal
how.
record. You got a criminal record. I
Yeah.
can tell you right now.
Oh, definitely,
You got a
yeah.
criminal record.
Oh, for sure,
Yes,
for
you
sure.
do.
What's my criminal
You're
record?
A felon, dude.
Yeah, what
You're
were
a
the
felon.
crimes? What were the
You're a
crimes I
felon.
committed?
You're
Yeah,
a felon.
Yeah, what
Probably
felonies did I
drugs.
commit?
Probably drugs.
Yeah, what
Drugs.
felony?
You probably were a drug dealer.
Oh, I was a drug dealer. Wow, this
Yeah,
is a lot
you
of fun.
probably were a drug dealer.
I'm learning a lot
I
about
can tell
myself.
right
I was
now,
a drug
man, you're all
dealer and
tattooed
I
up. You're all tattooed up.
Oh, I know,
Take
yeah.
care of
Tattoos
yourself.
definitely mean
You're
I'm a
headed
drug
for
dealer,
heart
right?
attack because you're ignorant.
Oh,
You're
oh, really?
ignorant
Is
of the
that
physical and
so?
the mental
Ignorance
and the
causes heart
spiritual
attacks,
law.
right?
You
Ignorance
live
is
in
what
a
causes heart
world of
attacks.
hate and conflict. All you got is yourself. You're a loser, dude.
Oh, I
You're a
know,
loser.
I know.
You're
I'm such a
arrogant.
loser. I know.
You
All
are
I've got
an
is myself.
arrogant know-it-all. You are an arrogant
I know. I
blasphemy.
constantly am
You're
talking about
mocking
how I know
God.
everything.
God's
That's true.
wrath is gonna
That's
strike
true.
you
Yep.
dead.
I'm constantly telling
God's
everybody,
wrath is
man,
gonna
I sure do
put a
know
fire
everything.
down your spine. Be careful in your car, dude.
Well, this
Be
has been
careful in your
fun. Do you
car.
want to actually have
God's wrath
a
is
on-topic
wicked,
conversation
and
or
he
no?
has no timeline. He has no timeline, dude. God's wrath is on your ass right now.
Oh,
I
man.
see you got demons flying
Is he
all over you.
is he
through
gonna eat
Satan.
it or
You speak
or
through
lick
Satan.
it or
Listen,
like
folks,
what's he doing with my
Satan is
ass?
speaking right here with this man.
Yeah? What's God gonna do with my
Satan is
ass though?
speaking through him.
I just want to know what God's gonna do with my ass,
Look
whether or
at
not
him.
I'm
He
into it.
believes in black
I don't know
magic.
whether or not I'm into it.
Yes, he does.
What's he gonna do with my ass?
All you
What's he
got is
doing?
yourself
What's he
in
back?
this
What's he doing
world.
back there?
This guy,
Why is God so interested in my
look,
ass,
look
Johnny?
How arrogant he is.
Johnny, why is God so
Look
interested
how
in my
arrogant
ass?
look
Is
at
God
this fat
gay?
man's arrogance.
Is Jesus gay?
You are arrogant.
Is Jesus
You
trying
are
to?
an
Is Jesus
arrogant,
hitting on me right now, Johnny?
arrogant
Are you
know-it-all.
here
You're
hitting on me
arrogant.
for Jesus?
You mock God.
So you're
You
hitting on
mock
me for
God.
Jesus
That's
right now,
sin.
talking about all the
That's
sexy things he's gonna do with my butt?
Sin is mocking God, making fun of God.
Oh man,
God
I
is
know.
fiction.
Oh, I'm so
Are
scared
you
too.
kidding me? God is fiction. All you got is your fat self in this world. You're a loser, dude.
Oh, I'm
You've
such
been
a
in
loser.
prison.
Listen, you hear
You've
the
been in
tiniest
prison.
violin playing for you?
You've been in prison.
Oh, I know. Oh, my
You've
criminal
gone through the
record.
mill. Your only hope is Jesus Christ. Your only hope is Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Who took
I
your
know.
sin
Oh
and
man.
was crucified
The
on
problem is
cross
though, I
for somebody
tried.
like you sin.
But Johnny,
You
when I
sin.
tried to
You
go
are
on a
a
date
sinner
with
like
Jesus, he
everybody
didn't
else.
show up. I tried to go on a date with
Everybody else-
Jesus.
Everybody on
He
this
didn't show
earth
up. He
is
was
a
busy
sinner.
fucking some other guy.
Everybody, you've got a filthy mouth.
Oh, I've got
because
such a
you're
filthy
arrogant.
fucking mouth, don't
You
I?
got an
I mean, it's from all that
arrogant
prison
mouth. You
time,
don't know it all.
right? Because all my
All you
time as a
got is
drug
yourself.
dealer.
All
All
you
right.
got is yourself and
Yeah.
your
Well, no,
fallen
remember, I've got
You
all the
have no
drugs too,
God.
right?
You are an atheist. All you got is yourself.
All right. Well, this has
Wow.
been fun, Johnny.
You
I
know
hope that
God
you have the
is?
day you
You
deserve.
think you're God. You think you.
Oh my god. Oh. I was thinking the same thing, Life's a Glitch. I needed that laugh. So I found out today that apparently I used to be a drug dealer, and that I was in prison at one point, and that's why I have tattoos. So, yeah, that's true. I'm not God. Obelisk is God. So, you messed that one up, Johnny. All right. Oh, I didn't even notice. Hey, Lobes.
Hey, yeah, you know what's interesting? Because Jesus stood me up too. We had the same issue with the same guy.
What the fuck?
And I was so disappointed. Yeah, I was so disappointed because I heard he was hung, but
Yeah.
he was just getting nailed by somebody else.
Well, I apparently he was going to do lots of fun stuff with my ass, and I mean, I'm not really into that kind of stuff, but I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe Jesus knows how to make it good, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's supposed to have been the one to have split the sea. I think he was going to split the cheeks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he split the sea all right. It was a guy named Chris, and he split him wide open. All right. Good times. I needed that laugh. But yeah, that's probably true, Poop Man Jones. He was, when he stood up, Lobes and I, he was probably in Johnny's garage that he was screaming at me from. All right, so we'll see if we can have an actual conversation. If you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God. Gabriella, you've been waiting a long time. Thank you. Are you at least 18?
Hello, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And what God do you believe in, Gabriella?
Jesus Christ.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to convince Lobes and I that God does exist?
Okay, so do you know what the laminin is?
I couldn't understand what you said. I'm sorry. What is?
The laminin is a protein. It's a protein in your body.
Well, I'm not a
And
doctor.
yeah, so the laminin helps hold tissues and cells together in your body, and it has the form of a cross.
Okay, cool.
So that's scientific proof to me that my God exists,
Mm-hmm.
and I only wanted to share that because the
Okay,
rest.
so does that mean that?
It's interesting, Gabriella, because you know, goats, their heads look just like a goat head, which is like a satanic thing. So I think that's also
Holy
that's a good point,
shit.
because now Satan has to be real too, because goats have goat heads.
That must mean that Satan is actually God, right?
Right, or maybe they're like duking it out. But there's so many goats. I don't know. The goats are at least bigger.
It's true. Goats are a lot bigger than
know what?
protein.
These proteins. Wait, Gabriella, did we not know that they're upside down crosses or right side up crosses?
They're
Because this could be pivotal.
They're probably upside down crosses.
Last time I saw a picture, it was all jumbled up in a mess. You have to like actually spread it out to make it look like a T.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Gabriella. This doesn't give me any reason to think that a God exists. And is there something that I'm missing? Because just saying that there is a protein that, if you manipulate it the correct way, has makes a simple shape. That's not very compelling to me. Was that all you had?
Yeah, and I only wanted to share that with you
Okay.
because
All right. Well, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Yep, that's not.
Imagine if it was a different form of execution for Jesus, like if he was like the guillotine, if the protein looked like a guillotine, that would be insane.
Okay, that would be a lot more compelling if there was a guillotine protein and it killed billionaires. Then I might be on board. Like if a billionaire eats it, like you, as soon as your bank account gets, or like your net worth gets over $1 billion, eating that protein, ends it for you. Then I might actually believe in a God.
Well, it's something that like is holding your cells together, apparently.
Obelisk says the French Revolution was divine. All right. Well, we'll see if we.
Imagine the necklaces that would with like a basket, with like a, you know what I mean? Oh, I love your shirt.
Oh, my shirt? Yeah, we're rocking
I love that.
rocking Saw tonight. Okay.
Some Billy.
Yeah, so we'll see if we can actually have a conversation. It's been a little bit rough here. Oops. I'm messing up my own notes over here. Cross-shaped protein. Okay, so it looks like we have Philly, and then a name that I can't read, and then a dot. So hopefully we can get to all three of them, and if you are one of those three in the guest box or thinking about joining the queue, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Let's see if Philly can connect. Hi, Philly. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
So I was an actually atheist myself.
Okay, well, I
a
already think
couple
that
years
you're
ago.
lying to me, so I mean that's not a good start.
I mean, whatever. Believe what you want to believe, but yeah, I was an atheist a couple years ago.
Yeah, what
Talked
convinced you that
to
God exists?
yeah, talk to someone about that, right? Because obviously,
Yeah, all I
like,
need you to tell me is just
so obviously,
get
yeah,
to the
we
point,
live in this
Philly.
world, right? And
Yeah,
we want to know,
just tell me what
like, who
convinced you.
was the creator of this world, right?
Okay, why should I think the world was
So,
created?
so we got everything in this world, man, is perfect for us to live and breathe. For like we got, you know, trees, we got the ocean, we have lungs, we have eyes, you know, just perfect for us to live in, right?
No,
Like
most of the
where else,
Earth,
bro?
most
Like
the
where
vast
else would we
majority,
get that from?
Philly, the vast majority of Earth is completely uninhabitable for humans, and the rest of the universe is even less habitable for humans. So
Then why can't we
knowing that,
breathe? Why is there air like perfect
so
for us to
knowing,
breathe? Why do we have eyes? Why
yeah,
do we
this
have
is just the
mouths? Why
puddle
do we have
bullshit. Like
tongues?
obviously,
Like,
if
bro,
we
like, why
exist
do we
on
have
this,
all this stuff perfect for us to like breathe
okay,
in?
hold on. All right, I need you to take a breath here, Philly. We're way off topic. What was the argument that convinced you that God exists, since you used to be an atheist? Just give me the actual argument. Or the piece of evidence. You have to unmute yourself to talk. I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, shit.
Okay,
I mean, I
so
don't know if you want to look it up, man, but it's proven evidence, bro, that Jesus Christ walked this earth and he lived this
no.
earth. Look it up, brother.
Yeah, you think
Look
that
it
I
up.
haven't looked into it? Like, obviously,
No. Obviously you didn't. Obviously you didn't.
You're right. I have no idea.
If we grant that there was a guy that pretended to be God and people lied about his magic tricks, what does that say about the existence of God?
Not a damn thing. Also, again, this has
Okay,
nothing to
well,
do. Again,
well, dude, everything in
Philly,
this world
hold
is
on,
evidence,
hold on.
brother.
We're completely off topic here.
How can you say it's just magic?
Stop. What the question that you're supposed to be answering right now is, what argument convinced you that God exists when you used to be an atheist? You have to unmute, and then either you're going to answer that question directly, or I'm going to move on. Your choice.
I have a question for him too if he doesn't give an answer.
Well, if he doesn't give an answer, I'm just going to move on. If he doesn't unmute himself, I'm going to move on.
Yo.
Okay, so what's the answer to my question?
So like I said, Jesus, it was proven evidence and fact that he walked this earth.
Yeah, let's
and he got
pretend that Jesus
crucified.
actually was a real person. Who cares? What is the reason that I should believe in a God? What convinced you
Brother,
to believe in a
his
God?
tomb is empty. You
That's just another claim. Again, this is bullshit from stories. Why should I think that a God exists? None of this stuff is compelling unless you already believe in it. If this stuff was compelling to you
All right,
when
bro,
you
have you
were
ever thought
an
about
atheist, then that means that you weren't actually an atheist.
Okay, brother, have you ever thought why you're in this world? Like why, like what purpose you got in this world?
So I'm going to ask you one last time. What is the argument that convinced you God exists?
I'm asking you the question now. I told you already.
Yeah, you're asking me questions to get out of answering my questions. You don't get to just pretend
Dude,
that
I
we're talking
answered
about
your
something
question
else
already, dude.
because you're too
You
scared
just
to
don't
answer the
wanna
question.
believe it. You're
All right,
you're
Lobes,
just
do
too
you want to
wrapped
ask
up in
your
your
question?
head, bro.
Let's see if he'll answer yours.
Yeah, I was curious when you said that you were an atheist a couple years ago. What was your favorite atheist argument?
Pretty much our purpose in this world.
That was your favorite
Like
argument for
like why are
atheism?
we here? Pretty much.
And how did you run that argument?
I mean, I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't fucking know better.
Yeah, so when you talked to Christians and you told them, and they said God exists, and you said, no, God doesn't exist, and they said, how do you know God doesn't exist? Well, how did you respond?
Well, like same as you, dude.
Oh, same as me?
Yeah, same as you, man.
Wow. Man, you're really
Yeah.
good at this, Philly. Okay.
I should have I should take notes for because I was I'm trying to add some arguments to my arsenal. I think that's a pretty good one. I could jot down whenever I'm out of good ones. I can run that one.
Same as you. The argument of same thing you said.
Just copy paste. I don't remember what it was, but it was exactly that.
Yeah, it was exactly whatever you said.
All right. Yeah, well, that's whatever you just said for you.
Yeah. All right. TikTok Studio being stupid yet again. Oh, is it going to let me do it? Okay. All right. Okay. So it looks like we have a few people requesting. If you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. We'll bring up the next person.
Yep.
Hi, what's your name?
Mercury.
Mercury. Okay. And what God do you? Are you at least 18?
Yep.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
The resurrection,
Okay.
textual criticism, stuff like that.
Why should we
Also,
think
the argument that he was trying to say, the last guy was.
I don't want to talk
getting
about.
theory.
Yep, that's just meta. I don't give a fuck about meta. So
Yeah.
why should I think that the resurrection happened?
Well, there were over 500 eyewitnesses who claimed to have seen it.
Sure. Give me
and
20 of their
some
names
those-
and where I can find their firsthand testimony. I'm ready to write down the 20 names.
Give me a second. I forgot the names.
Well, that's
I know
because they
there were
don't
at least
exist.
12.
I can give you that. I'll tell you a secret.
Talking over me?
Well, I'm just going to tell you a little secret here so you don't waste your time. That's a nonsense claim that has no evidence to support it. So if you want to waste a bunch of time looking for names that don't exist, you can. But I'll just, give you the spoiler. There were no witnesses.
There are.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So
Anyways,
then what are 20
we
of their
can take-
names?
Okay, well, I just told you I don't remember the names.
Yeah, no, that's
but
what I need. In order
we
to
can
move
take, for
forward,
example,
Mercury, in order to move forward with this conversation, you're going to either need to concede that you don't have any eyewitness testimony of the resurrection, or you're going to need to provide at least 20 names. And the sources where I can read each of those 20 people's eyewitness testimony.
Okay, well, let's take, for example, we're going to take, for example, the prosecutors.
Names. I
So,
said names and the sources where I can read their personal testimony.
All right. Give
So
me a
what's the
second to
first
find the
name?
source for you. Give me a second to find the source for you.
Mm-hmm. Lobes, I got to run my new anti-fine tuning argument earlier. It worked like a charm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How'd
it's
that go?
I was pretty stoked about it. I haven't gotten to run it before. After running it, coincidentally, the person wanted to switch to a different argument.
Have you
Okay,
told me this before?
Mary Magdalene and the disciples.
Okay, so Mary Magdalene, and where can I read her firsthand testimony?
Let me check.
You knew that that's what I was asking for, so I don't know why you would come back without it.
Have you told me your anti-fine tuning argument yet? You said it's a new one.
I don't think I've discussed this new one with you, no. I just was watching, I watched this video with this Neil Manson, and he was talking about the fine-tuning argument. It was an episode of the Sci-Fi Show on Phil Halper's channel, and it was Neil, and I want to say it was Neil, Alex Malpass, and Phil Halper, and they were talking about fine-tuning, and Neil had written a paper, and so he was kind of going over what was in his paper, and I took a bunch of notes from that video, and I was reading back over those notes later, and I realized that there was something there, and so I whipped up a syllogism, ran it by a couple of people that I talk to about philosophy all the time, and they ripped it to shreds, but I came out of it with what I think is a decent argument. Maybe not perfect, but I think it's pretty solid.
Excited to hear it. I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody else wants to talk about fine-tuning, and I can run it again. Mercury, what have you got? Where can I read
John
Mary
20,
Magdalene's personal
11
testimony?
through 18.
What's that?
John 20, 11 through 18.
And this is written by Mary Magdalene?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, how did we confirm
John.
that it was written by Mary Magdalene?
I said I'm pretty sure it says John.
Well, I asked you for the names of 20 people who witnessed the resurrection and the sources for their personal testimony.
Right, the Bible. I gave you the Bible.
Yeah, the Bible doesn't.
John 20:11.
The Bible doesn't have.
Where you can.
The Bible doesn't have any personal testimony of eyewitness resurrection, or excuse me, resurrections. Oh my God, eyewitnesses to the resurrection. There are none of those in the Bible. So we need some other source that actually has, sources, right? So where can I go read Mary Magdalene's firsthand testimony? Because again, let's look. Actually, before I move on to that, Mercury, let's read what John 20:11 through 14 actually says. It says, "But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, 'Woman, why are you weeping?' She said to them, 'They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him.' When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know it was Jesus." Okay, so since this is obviously not written by Mary Magdalene, clearly we shouldn't think that this is firsthand testimony. So this isn't what I asked you for. So far, after telling me that there were 500 eyewitnesses, so I only asked you for 20, which is a small percentage of 500, right? So I'm only asking you for 20 of them. And I just want those 20 names, the best 20 eyewitnesses and their testimony of what they saw. You've provided so far one name and no testimony. Do you see how far off you are from even this like really basic thing that I'm asking you for to support your claim?
To start off, I've only given one because you've only let me give one. I'm
asking you to just. I'm asking you
Right.
to give me the 20 names and the sources of their testimony. Go ahead.
Right. Well, if you don't talk, I will.
Start with the most credible one, like the one that we have.
Same with Libs. Same with Libs.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, hey, if I had nothing, I would cry too. So, I mean, I guess if you want to keep crying, go for it. So why don't you go ahead and start listing names and the sources where I can read their testimony?
I was going to listen. Calm down.
And then he teacups. Fantastic. Wow, you're doing a great job.
When you go out of TikTok to go to Google, you have to your mic gets automatically muted.
Yeah, I know, because you keep leaving because you have to go to ChatGPT because you don't actually have the evidence.
I'm not going to ChatGPT. I'm going to Google because I don't remember the names. I told you this.
Okay, so start listing the names. You've had more than enough time. You just got mad at us for interrupting you because you were gonna list the names. So I said list the names and then you leave the app.
I'm trying to list the name. And
list them. Go.
Okay. Okay, well, since you want me to like rush it, the apostles, I still haven't found the source.
No, 20 names of the 500 that Paul talked about. That's not the apostles. That's the 500 that Jesus appeared to post-resurrection. This isn't the apostles. It's not Mary Magdalene. Start giving 20 names. Go. You said you have them.
James.
James?
Yeah, mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15:7.
And who wrote 1 Corinthians? Mercury. Who wrote 1 Corinthians?
Give me a second.
Did James write 1 Corinthians?
The Apostle Paul read it.
And I asked you for the first-hand testimony. So obviously something written by Paul cannot be first-hand testimony of something witnessed by James. So where can I read James's first-hand testimony?
I don't think there are first-hand testimonies.
Okay, well, then we don't have the witnesses, do we?
We do. Yeah, the witnesses are there, just not written.
Yeah, no, what we have is a claim of witnesses. That's not having witnesses. Do you understand the difference?
They are witnesses.
So you aren't able to even answer a yes or no question. Do you understand the difference between claiming there were witnesses and actually having the reports of witnesses?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fantastic. You're claiming that there were witnesses, so to provide evidence for that, I need you to do something other than just pointing to a claim that there were witnesses. So far, all you've done is point to claims that there were witnesses, but that's the claim you're supposed to be supporting. By just making more claims that there were witnesses doesn't support the claim that there were witnesses, so I need you to actually provide support for the claim that there were witnesses to the resurrection.
Okay. I'm going to look for a first-hand source of a witness.
Okay, here's the problem, Mercury.
need you
If
to
you're
be
giving
first.
this, if you're trying to present this as evidence, hey, thanks, Poopman Jones. Yeehaw. If you're trying to present this as evidence, then you should already know the names of the people, of the witnesses, and where to find their firsthand testimony. The fact that you don't tells me that you know that this isn't evidence, and that's why you didn't even try to get that information. So I'm going to ask you one last time.
I just was not very prepared. I came.
You're right. You
unprepared,
weren't prepared.
Which is my fault.
Yes,
But
it is your fault. So now I'm going to ask you one more time. And if you either don't give a direct answer or you don't actually, or you go off into some tangent, then I'm just going to move on. So knowing that you aren't actually prepared to defend this claim that you're making, what is an actual piece of evidence or argument that you can defend that would give me justification to believe in a God? Nothing? Just going to mute yourself and then wait for me to kick you so that you can say that I ran?
Just give me a second. I'm busy. I'm doing some right now.
Fair enough. You go ahead and focus on that. Don't mean to take up your time.
John is the latest of the Gospels, historically speaking. The earliest one would have been decades at best, and 2nd century at worst.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that somehow something written in John about Mary Magdalene is firsthand testimony from Mary Magdalene, or something written by Paul about James is somehow firsthand testimony from James, it's just ridiculous. But we'll see if somebody else actually has an argument. Thank you, Mikey, for the support, and Poopman Jones. And I'm sure I missed a bunch of people. Hercules. Oh, Hercules supporting more. Thank you, Hercules. And Peacemonger. Everlasting Godstopper sending support to Lobes. Thank you for that. Thank you to Nick. And what is this? Girl to Ink. Yeah, sincerely appreciate everybody's support. It does mean a lot to me, sincerely. Oh, yeah. Send support to Lobes, Poopman Jones. Thank you. Okay. So we'll try to bring up the next person. Just make sure that if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Fiend, are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Okay. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Your claim is God is fiction. So I'm wondering what standard of truth are you using to make that claim?
I define truth as that which corresponds to reality.
Okay, so hello?
Yep. You're teacupped. Can't hear you if you're off the app. I didn't think defining truth would be this tough to deal with.
I didn't expect him to have an answer. I thought he would fumble over my question and not know not know what to say.
I had no idea that maybe this guy up here doing debates may have thought about the definition of truth before. Couldn't possibly have been prepared for that.
Check the notes real quick.
And then he ran.
Whoa. That was the whole thing. He was gonna if you had so much as said you would have dug in there with ad homs about how you're stupid or something.
Oh my god, that was rough. Okay, all right. So we'll see if we can have an actual conversation with Muhammad.
The Muhammad?
Well, probably not the Muhammad. Hopefully not the Muhammad. That would be kind of scary. I'm not really a big fan of zombies.
The good Muhammad, maybe.
We're hoping a good Muhammad, yeah. Is Muhammad actually even able to connect? Oh, maybe. Hi, Muhammad. Are you at least 18?
Oh, I'm way older than that.
Okay.
I wish I was 18.
Sure. What God do you believe in?
I mean, I can answer that question, but I think that question is not important. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I can tell you what God I believe in, but at the end of the day, you're saying that the whole God, whether it's a Muslim who believes in God or whether it's a Christian who believes in God, at the end of the day, at least all those religions, they have one thing in common, that is that they believe in God.
Okay, so what God do you believe in?
I'm a Muslim. I believe in Allah.
Okay, and what's the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Okay, so just from a logical standpoint, for example, if I told you that something as simple as a water bottle, right? If I told you this water bottle just popped into existence, there was water in it, nobody made it, it just popped into existence, would you call me a normal person, or would you say that you're a little bit sick in the head? Or would you, if I told you this?
I wouldn't do either of those things, but asking me questions isn't providing an argument, and I'm asking you to provide an argument. Why don't you just go ahead and give the argument?
I'm just saying, from a logical standpoint, for example, a phone has a maker, a car has a maker.
Yep, we have background information about those things. We've experienced and witnessed them being made. I've never witnessed life being brought into existence. I've never witnessed matter being spoken into existence. I've never witnessed any of these supernatural things. So I don't have the kind of background information about, life being created or the earth being created or the universe being created that we have about, phones and paintings and buildings. So knowing that those things are completely different, so the analogy or the comparison of the two is completely irrelevant to this conversation, what would actually be a relevant thing that we could talk about?
I'm just giving you the logical standpoint.
That's not a logical standpoint. All you've said is a bunch of nonsense that is completely unrelated to the conversation we're supposed to be having.
How is it all I'm saying is, if something as simple as a phone, as simple as a car, as simple as the universe, as a house.
Yes, what was my response to that, Muhammad?
I mean, you're giving. I'm just trying to give you like.
What was my response?
Standpoint. You're saying that you have a background information for that.
Mm-hmm. So respond to that. Don't just keep saying the same thing over again. Respond to what I said.
I'm saying that those things, from a logical standpoint, the fact that the universe itself exists. You cannot say that the universe, this entire universe, this planet, everything to be in a perfect
motion. So why don't you, instead of just trying to build up a straw man that you think you can knock down, why don't you actually respond to what I said?
What is exactly your question?
You apparently were listening. You repeated my response back to you. So now respond to what I said.
I'm responding to you. I'm saying that
you're not
from a logic. Okay, so are you asking me exactly the Islamic version of this? Are you asking me just to prove the existence of God, or are you saying from Islamic perspective?
I'm asking you to respond to what I said, to my critique of the argument that you've given. Can you respond to the critique that I gave? Yes or no?
I think I am responding. I don't think you're letting me respond to it.
You're not responding. So give it another shot. Respond to my critique of your position.
Exactly what is that critique?
You repeated it back to me. Apparently you were listening, so respond to it. Actually directly respond to what I said instead of running off into a bunch of other nonsense. Or just repeating your claim again.
I believe that I genuinely believe that you do not want to hear the answer to that question. I think if all I'm saying to you is, if something as simple as a water bottle can exist.
Yeah, you already said that, and I already responded to that.
Muhammad, why don't you, if you think he is not interested in hearing the answer, I'm perplexed as to why he would ask it so many times, but why don't you just give the answer, and if he says, ew, I didn't want that, then you'll be right. But if he says, okay, I'll respond to that, then you can learn that he actually did want the answer. So just try it. Just give the answer and see what he does.
Okay, so I think I'm not understanding 100% unless we're completely misunderstanding each other. Exactly. If you don't mind, just repeat the question 100%. Let me just understand that question one more time.
Mm-hmm. What is your response to my critique of your claim about water bottles and phones being created?
So my thing is, that the world and how complicated it is, how the stars are, how the universe is, it doesn't make any logical sense for them.
How
not
does
to
that
be.
respond to my critique?
I don't even
Connect
I
it.
don't understand.
Tell me what the connection is.
The connection is from I'm just saying I don't understand your. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I actually do not understand what you mean by what is my critique. I don't understand
So
that.
you started talking about, phones and water bottles and cars and all these things that we have background information about. When I look at a car, I know that it was created by an intelligent agent because I know how cars are built, and I know that that is the only way that they come into existence. I know that it was probably put together in a factory. Same thing with phones. I have background information that the only way phones come into existence is by being made by people. I don't have that kind of background information for the earth, for the universe, for life, any of those things. So I'm saying there isn't there is no relevant connection between how phones and buildings and paintings and water bottles come into existence. There's no connection between that and how universes or planets or stars or life those things come into existence, right? I'm saying there's no connection between those things because of the difference in background information. I'm asking you to respond to that critique directly.
So you're saying that if there's not, so what you're saying is if there's no way that you can see and you can have information, a complete background information, you basically, there's no proof for it. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe I can give you an example here. Let's say that you're walking on the beach and you come across a snurfin. Was that snurfin designed or did it come about naturally?
Okay, what does the word snurfin mean? I'm sorry, English is like my third language.
Yeah, I made it up. You don't know what it is. This is the first time you've ever encountered a snurfin. You have no idea. It seems like it's complicated, but you're not really sure. You don't really know what it does, and it's a shape that you're not really familiar with. Is that thing designed, or did it come about naturally?
It has to be designed then.
Why would we conclude that it was designed?
Because I've seen it at that time. That was the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, what about seeing it tells you that it was designed?
I actually don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have a way of knowing whether it was designed or not. If you have no experience with it and you've never seen one come into existence, you could maybe make some guesses. Like, let's say that, it has some metal bits on it, but other bits look a little bit like rock or maybe marble, right?
At least I would have come to the conclusion that either it was naturally formed or it was either someone that made it.
Yeah, either it was naturally formed or it wasn't. That's obviously that's going to be true of everything in existence. So now the only thing that you know about this thing, because you don't have background information about it, is either it was formed naturally or it was created. And this is my point. If you come across something that you have no experience with how it could be created or how it could come into existence, then you can't draw a conclusion about how it came into existence. And that's what's true of the universe. We don't know whether or not the universe came into existence, and if it did come into existence, we have no experience with universes coming into existence, so we have no way to draw conclusions about how they would come into existence.
Least, don't you think at least modern science have come to the conclusion that the universe had a beginning?
No.
So the universe has, so according to the as advanced as we are in science, you're telling me that we do not know that matter, space, and time, all of this, the universe, the earth, all of these planets that we know of, they had a beginning? We have no idea of that?
Well, you mentioned a bunch of different things, some of which we do know that had a beginning and some of which we don't. Obviously, we know that the earth had a beginning. We know that the sun had a beginning, those kinds of things. But no, we don't have any reason from science to think that the universe had a beginning.
What about the human beings?
Well, yeah, human beings are a product of evolution. So there was the vast majority of the history of the universe, or this current instantiation of the universe, humans didn't exist. And for the last, depending on how you want to define it, maybe like a few 100,000 years, humans have existed.
So let's say the parts of the world that we know that had a beginning, who do you think initiated that beginning? That is my question.
I don't have any reason to think that there was a who involved.
So you think it just happened?
I didn't say that at all.
That's where the reason why people believe in God is because they think that everything has to have a beginning, and that beginning that cause. For example,
Yeah, why should I
give
think the
you,
universe had a beginning?
because it has that. I mean, this is according. We know that everything has a beginning.
Oh,
Like
we just
this is
know
not
that everything has a
infinite.
beginning?
I mean,
How do we know that everything has a beginning?
So forget about the universe. At least we know that the earth has a beginning, right?
How do
That
we
part
know
we
that
know.
everything has a beginning, Muhammad?
What are you talking about? The universe, or are you talking about the earth? Are you talking
You
about just anything?
said everything has a beginning. How do we know that everything, including the universe, has a beginning?
Okay, so from a logical standpoint, everything has a beginning.
That just
Everything is
just
infinite.
adding from a logical standpoint before the claim and then repeating the claim that I'm asking you to support doesn't actually support the claim. So instead of repeating the claim or adding extra phrases that make it sound good, why don't you actually support the claim? Why should I think that the universe had a beginning?
According to the science that we know today.
We already discussed this. There is no science that should make us believe that the universe had a beginning. So since science doesn't give us a reason to think the universe had a beginning, where would I find a reason to think that the universe had a beginning?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. I thought that, particularly in science, that we have discovered that everything, the sun, the moon, everything has a beginning.
We know that the sun and the moon had a beginning, sure, but not the universe itself.
So when you say the universe, you're talking about the galaxies, all of this stuff, right? You're talking about the
I'm talking about the universe as a whole.
Okay. So what about the sun and the moon then?
I'm
Do they
asking
have a
you
beginning?
why your claim is that everything, including the universe, had a beginning. So I'm asking you, why should I think that that's true? Why should I think the universe had a beginning?
If the sun and the moon had a beginning, then the universe must have a beginning. I mean, maybe we just don't know. Maybe we haven't reached that level of knowledge yet. Maybe we haven't reached that. We haven't
What is
advanced that
happening?
into science.
Is that you playing music?
I don't know who's playing that music, honestly.
Yeah, it's Muhammad.
That wasn't me that was playing that music. Somebody muted me and then they played the music. I don't know who it is.
No, I just muted you and the music stopped as soon as I muted you. So what I'm asking you is you're claiming that if the earth and the moon had a beginning, then the universe must have had a beginning. Why should I think that that's true?
I think I believe that because we just haven't made it that far our science have not advanced that far.
So you
That's what I
believe it
believe.
without a reason, right?
Have you ever heard of the part-whole fallacy?
No.
It's a fallacy wherein when you look at the parts of something, ergo the earth and the sun would be parts of the universe. For example, when we look at the properties of the parts, we fallaciously jump to the conclusion that the whole, ergo the universe, would have all of the same properties, such as being created, for instance, or having a beginning. Do you understand?
I understand that part, yeah.
Okay, so what you're doing right now is a fallacy because you're saying since part of the universe had a beginning or certain parts of the universe had a beginning, therefore the whole of the universe had a beginning, that we now are all understanding that that's a fallacy, so that doesn't work. So what is the reason why we should think the universe had a beginning?
I think I already answered that question, but you're
No,
not
you
satisfied
didn't.
with that question. You called it. I mean, you called it. Okay, why do you believe that the sun and the moon had a beginning? Why do you believe that the earth had a beginning? Because of advanced in science, right?
Yeah, because we have an understanding of how accretion disks work. We know how planets and stars form. We know, there are lots of people who have very high level of understanding of how those things work. And to the best of my knowledge, we have good evidence supporting that. Now, obviously, if somebody came to me and showed me that that evidence is faulty or I've misunderstood it somehow or whatever, I would change my position. As far as I know currently, though, there is good evidence to believe that those things had a beginning. So I take that evidence and that's what I base my belief on. What I'm asking you for is the evidence
So
that
if
the
we
universe had a beginning. Can you
so
provide that?
if we somehow, let's say in 20, 30 years, we advance completely in science and technology, and then we realize that the entire universe has a beginning, would you believe science that the universe had a beginning then? If we advance, because this is all advancement that we're making in technology.
Muhammad, I would believe the universe had a beginning right now if you could give me evidence or an argument that gives me a reason to believe it. Can you do that?
I mean, I can give you an argument from the Islamic perspective, but you're not gonna believe it. I mean, that is not gonna convince you, because clearly you're not gonna believe in it, because this is like Islam. This is my faith, you know.
Okay,
But
well, I mean, if all you're going to do is poison the well, then I don't know why I would continue talking to you. What if you were asking me to give an argument for atheism, and I said, well, no matter what argument I give, you're not going to believe it anyway, because you're a dishonest fuck and you won't believe anything I say.
No, I'm
Do
not-
you think
I'm
that
not-
would
I'm
be
not-
an honest way to engage in a conversation, or would that be a shitty thing of me to do? Because I think that would be a shitty thing of me to do. Just like
Okay,
I think
how
it's
about-
shitty of you to do it to me.
Okay.
So instead of being an asshole, how about you actually provide some kind of argument or evidence for why we should think the universe had a beginning?
Okay, so from the Islamic perspective, and which I can give you the Islamic perspective. For example, the Quran was revealed on Muhammad, about on the 7th century, where it was revealed. There are some scientific actually miracles that are in the Quran. For example, I can give you, like, you guys know this Dr. Keith Moore. Which is
I'm
a
asking you to
doctor.
tell me why I should think the universe had a beginning. None of this has anything to do with that.
And I'm telling you, according to the Quran, it tells us that God created the universe. God created everything.
That's fine.
And all,
I'm asking you, what is the evidence for the universe having a
I
beginning?
mean, the only evidence you believe in is science, and
Nope.
you're telling me that science have not
Nope.
made it so far.
No, you're
What other-
poisoning the well again, Muhammad.
I mean, I don't know what other evidence. I mean, the only evidence clearly. I mean, you're saying that from the atheism standpoint, the only thing that makes sense to you is science. Nothing else makes. There's nothing
Okay,
else.
well, Muhammad, I'm only going to allow you to misrepresent my position so many times. I'm going to have to move on. I would say thanks for the conversation, but I don't really appreciate it because that was a bunch of bullshit. Thank you, everybody, for supporting Everlasting Godstopper and Poopman Jones, and even Muhammad was supporting, Hercules, Mikey, Peacemonger, Bello, it looks like, Leo. Sincerely, I just want to say thank you, everybody. All right. Yeah, so I have been up for over 2 hours, and I think one of the most annoying things is people in the chat begging to come up. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Lobes? Is it just me?
I don't know. Sometimes I don't always know who came in first, and when somebody's begging, it's a little annoying. But at least I know that they're there. I can't always decide who to bring up. Sometimes I'll just like do it, but I don't know.
I don't know. It just
Kind of-
bugs the shit out of
as long
me.
as it doesn't override as long as it doesn't completely flood the entire chat.
Yeah, we got somebody that was spamming until one of the mods muted them because they just kept bring me up, bring me. I don't know, it bugs the shit out of me, especially when there's 5 people in front of them in line. Okay. I don't know. I've been live for over 2 hours now, and typically I only go for about 2 hours. I don't know. Do I keep going? I don't know. Maybe we can have a good conversation. Let's see. Please make sure that you're 18 plus and actually have an argument or evidence for God. Hi, Matt. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jehovah God.
Okay. Which version of Jehovah?
This is what the Bible says. Yahweh is his name.
Yeah, which Bible?
I guess you could consider the Holy Bible. It's just I'm a believer. I'm not actually religion or anything. I'm just a believer in him.
Is it the Christian Bible or the Jewish Bible?
Ethiopian Bible.
So the Christian Bible.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, man. I don't know why it's pulling teeth to get Christians to admit that they're Christians. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, I had personal experience myself. I was just
Okay,
like
well,
you.
maybe I should have said
Can
this.
I?
Maybe I should have said this earlier. I don't give a fuck about your personal experience. My personal experience isn't going to convince you to become an atheist, and likewise, your personal experience isn't going to convince me to believe in God. So, what is something that actually should convince me to believe in God?
I'm not trying to hear to convince you to believe in God, but I just,
Okay,
can
well,
I
that's
just,
all that's all I'm interested in talking about, Matt, is whether or not
okay.
there's rational justification to believe in a God. Are you?
Justification, okay. My justification, what happened to can I explain what happened to me when I was atheist? Hello, there's music in the background. I don't know what that is.
Is that like my gift
Okay.
goal because like people are supporting or something? I don't know what the fuck the piano is. It's weird as fuck.
I guess.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was Muhammad
Anyway.
doing that before. I don't know what it is.
Maybe he's hacking back into, I don't know. Anyways, dude.
I have no idea. But here's the thing, Matt. Again, my personal
Okay.
experience isn't going to convince you, and your personal experience isn't going to convince me. So what is something that should convince me that God exists?
And logically, how I look at it, how come the ocean, you know the ocean, how the sea only goes so far? Who controls that?
Nobody.
Is there nobody? There's no
Nope.
spirit, no
No.
supreme being?
No.
How about the way we were created? Your body parts, your eyes.
My
all
mom
perfect
created me.
form. Your mom did? Who created your mom?
Her mom.
And who created her mom?
Her mom.
There has to be a beginning then.
Nope.
There has to be a start. There has to be a creator, dude.
Nope. Why should I
mean-
think there's a creator?
Because there's only a man and woman who there isn't a certain superior supreme person that's smart, intelligent enough to make all our body parts in the right place, and a man and a woman only. Wouldn't you think there's other creatures that would be on this earth among us?
I have
walking
no
around the
idea what
earth?
you're talking about. Why should I think
I'm
that
just
there's a
trying to
God?
say there's a creator because of those basic things alone.
That I don't see any reason why I should think that there's a creator. I need you to spell it out for me. I'm not getting it.
I mean, you could who you think a Big Bang Theory is gonna make all of us appear like this?
Nobody says
It's
that
a
that's the
man and-
case. No, I'm not saying anything like that. Why should I think that there's a creator? Last chance.
Well, if you don't think there's a creator, what do you think?
Okay. So I take it that you don't have any argument or evidence then?
Oh, that's just my personal experience. I'm sorry
All
if
right.
you don't believe, but
Okay.
anyways.
Well, I'm sorry that you aren't a rational person. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Oh my God, I don't believe in. Yeah, what the fuck is that music? Like, why the fuck is that happening? Like, where could it be coming from?
I think it's one of the stock sounds in TikTok Studio. Maybe it's being tricked. Maybe it's set to something.
Yeah, I have no idea
I
what.
got-
It's annoying.
Gotta get out of here. But have a good rest of your life.
I see how it is. You're just gonna run away?
Yeah, I gotta
Just
get
gonna leave me?
undressed and, you know,
Is Jesus coming over?
he just DM'd me and I'm really excited.
Hey, all right. Well, now I get it.
Maybe I'll nail this time.
All right. Have a good one, man.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's one of the donos or something. I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm really new to all this TikTok shit. I have no idea. So, I don't know. Typically I don't go live this long or this late, but maybe we can try to have one more conversation, see if we can have a good one. Hi, Relly, are you at least 18?
Hi, yes, I am.
Okay, and what God do you
Well,
believe in?
I am a Christian. I believe in the Christian God.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Okay, yes. So, I guess, well, because I believe in the Christian God, so I would point to Jesus Christ and how he lived and how, he died and how he rose from the dead. There's plenty of evidence for that.
What's the evidence?
So I would say, the evidence, a lot of written, well, first the Bible, of course, and there's
Well, the
also a
Bible's
lot
the
of,
claim. That's not the evidence. Where's the evidence?
why can't the Bible be evidence?
Because it was written decades, generations after the events that it purports to report on. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just all the Bible shows is that people believed the stories in the Bible at best. That's the best that the Bible can show us. And I can accept that people believe the thing, or that, decades after Jesus supposedly lived, I can believe that a bunch of people believed the things that were written in the Bible. I have no problem with that. That doesn't have anything to do with whether or not a God exists. And what I'm interested in is whether or not a God exists. So since the Bible can't give us reason to believe in that, because again, it's just the claim, what is the actual evidence that would support us believing in the Bible?
Well, I'm sorry, dude. That is my evidence. I mean, the Bible. I mean, you said it's written decades after Jesus lived.
Yep.
Do you know? How do you know that exactly? Or because it was written by different people.
Yeah,
of
the
course,
earliest
or
earliest
different.
manuscripts that we have for the New Testament are from the 2nd century, so almost 100 years after Jesus would have died. Well, actually, I would think that the earliest manuscripts that we have are actually from like 100 or more years even after that, so like 200 to 300 years after Jesus died. But we have reason to believe that those manuscripts are copies of things that were written prior to that. But the earliest the earliest writings we have in the New Testament, or the things that we think are earliest, would have been the stuff from Paul, and that stuff is from at least 40 years after Jesus died. So if the earliest writings we don't have copies of them until hundreds of years after Jesus died, and then we think that Paul may have been writing about 40-ish years after Jesus died, and as far as we can tell, that would have been the earliest writings about Jesus, then I don't see why we would think that would be evidence. That's just stories about things people believed decades after the fact. What's the actual evidence that those beliefs, comported to something in reality?
Okay. Well, I mean, there's miracles. There's
There's claims of those things. What's the evidence for those things? Not just saying miracles happen doesn't give me any evidence. That just is another claim.
Okay. Well, I guess to combat that, I would just ask, what evidence do you have that God doesn't exist?
Okay, so you want to pivot, and you don't want to give an argument. You want me to
Not
give an
exactly,
argument?
but no, not exactly. I mean, I'm giving you the evidence that I have. The Bible.
Well, you haven't given
Jesus
any
is
evidence
living.
yet.
Well, then I guess before I give any more, what constitutes as evidence, I guess, in your mind?
Yeah, basically anything that raises the probability of the proposition or the hypothesis being true and lowers the probability of its negation. So if we're looking for evidence that, I own a Lamborghini, well, then we need to figure out what would raise the probability that the claim Ogar owns a Lamborghini is true. Well, I mean, maybe I could show you my insurance policy, and it says that there's a Lamborghini on my insurance policy. Now, that would be some evidence. I mean, it does seem like it would be weird if I had insurance on a Lamborghini but didn't actually have a Lamborghini, but that's not conclusive, because it is possible that I'm just such a weirdo that I have an insurance policy on a Lamborghini that I don't actually own, and then I try to get people to believe that I have a Lamborghini just by showing them the insurance policy. So that would be some evidence, but it wouldn't really be conclusive, and it probably wouldn't get us over 50% likelihood. There's the fucking music again.
Music.
What the shit is going on? This has never happened before. I don't understand what the fuck is happening. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Hopefully it stops. Is it gonna stop? It's a donation? Okay, well that's cool. Thank you for the donation, whoever sent whatever is triggering that, but it's a donation alert? Okay. Well, I don't know how to make it stop. Get it? How does it stop? Okay, it stopped. All right. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Okay, what the fuck? So I was saying, okay, we're trying to figure out what would be evidence for me owning a Lamborghini. And I said, I could show you my insurance card, but maybe I just have a policy for a Lamborghini, but I don't actually own one, so that wouldn't be conclusive evidence. So then we could say, okay, well, that's not conclusive evidence, so what would be more conclusive evidence? Well, then we could say, well, if you come to my house and you see a Lamborghini in the driveway, well, that's some really good evidence, but it's also possible that, my neighbor owns a Lamborghini and I let him park in my driveway, and then I bring people over and pretend that it's mine to get some kind of clout from it, right? So these are things that are evidence. They raise the probability of me having a Lamborghini, but they're not 100% sure. Another one, what the fuck is happening? I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. So knowing that those things might be some level of evidence, but they wouldn't be conclusive, and so I'm looking for those kinds of things. Now, I would be fine if you said, hey, you know what, Ogar, I don't have conclusive, I don't have a single piece of evidence that's conclusive, but I have a whole bunch of evidence that each individually raise the probability a little bit, and if we put it all together, it is enough to raise the probability up over 50%. If you could do that, I would start believing in God.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because and I think you already touched on this, bringing up conclusive evidence is very difficult, especially just in anything really, because like you said, if I own a Lamborghini, then, or you claim that you own a Lamborghini, oh, well, how do you own a Lamborghini? Do you have, is it, you know, a purchase on your card maybe, or is it you have a Lamborghini in your driveway? But even still, you can have all this evidence and there'll still be people can still doubt that you actually have a Lamborghini, right?
Well, can I explain
So,
why I think that here's why I think here's what I think of when people point to the Bible as evidence for God. What I think of is, let's say that I got one of my friends to write down on a piece of paper, Ogar owns a Lamborghini. Do you think that me showing you that piece of paper written by one of my friends, and it says 500 people saw Ogar driving the Lamborghini? That wouldn't actually be evidence that I own a Lamborghini. That's just evidence that I convinced somebody to write it down, right?
sure. But to that, I would say the Bible has many different authors that all claim the
Sure.
same thing.
Yep.
And they didn't even know each other. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
that's
it's hard to
exactly what
get
I would
5
expect.
people
That's
to
exactly what I
get.
would expect if a
Mhm.
bunch of people believe in a religious claim. They're going to write it down. These people believe these things. So they wrote down what they believed. That doesn't mean that what they
Right.
believed was true. Again, like this is what I
Yeah,
was talking about
that doesn't
before.
mean
Like,
that what they believe is true, but what it does say, especially if it all points to the same thing, and when these people never actually met each other as well, there's a lot of people think, things that happen, and these people weren't, writing the Bible together. They were different people in different areas of the world, and they all came to the same conclusion about certain events that took place, and that it all writes together into the similar story. You know what I mean?
yeah, because they
Like,
all
you
heard the
can't
same
write a conclusive
stories.
story.
They all heard the same
Yeah, but you
stories
can't.
that were being passed down, and then they wrote down their understanding of what was in those stories. Again, this isn't
But
evidence.
if it is all perfectly aligned, that's something to think about, because
No,
like
it's
it's like a
not.
game of telephone.
No,
Yes, it is. It's like the
JJ,
game of
JJ,
telephone, right?
JJ.
If
Do
if
you
you
understand?
okay,
You understand that we can read like Spider-Man comics and see how like a whole bunch of different storylines written by different people, even storylines written by people who've never met each other, all align with each other and tell the same coherent story? Like, that's not evidence that Spider-Man exists. That's just evidence that people are storytellers, and when you write a story, and you're probably going to base it on other stuff, and if you're writing about a character that somebody else created, you're probably going to take the elements of their version of the story and add them into whatever story you're writing about it. But that's why we see things like the earliest gospels. Jesus isn't supernatural. He doesn't have powers. He doesn't do that much miraculous stuff. But as time goes on, the Gospels get more and more miraculous and more outlandish until we get to John, where Jesus is doing all kinds of miracles and crazy shit. Like, that was what we would expect to happen if the story wasn't true, and people were trying to convince others to believe in it, and they had to make their story more and more impressive to get more and more people to believe in it. That's exactly what we would expect if the stories aren't true. If the stories were true, we would expect them to stay consistent, not change and become more and more mythologized over time. But here's what I'm asking for. You're like, so far, all we've talked about are the claims in the Bible. I'm telling you that just like my friend writing down Ogar owns a Lamborghini isn't evidence that I own a Lamborghini and shouldn't convince you that I own a Lamborghini, Paul writing down 500 people saw Jesus after he resurrected isn't enough for me to be convinced that Jesus actually resurrected. So is there some evidence that you actually want to provide, or would you want me to provide an argument?
okay. Well, do you believe that just Jesus existed at all, or do you believe that he's fiction too?
I don't know for sure. It seems like there's some evidence to suggest that he existed, but I haven't seen enough evidence to make me think that it's true that he existed.
Okay. Um. Well, he's a very influential figure. I think that's just common knowledge, especially if you
That's
look at
fine. Yeah,
the
Muhammad is an influential figure in a lot of parts of the world. The Hindu deities are influential figures in a lot of the world. Harry Potter is an influential figure. Fucking Luke Skywalker is an influential figure, right? Like, how many people base their lives around, fucking Superman or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, how many people dress up as superheroes and go out and spend their weekends trying to fight crime because they like the stories in the comic books and the superhero movies? Like, yeah, fictional characters can have a huge impact on the world, right? Like, that's just a known thing that happens all the time. So saying that this fictional character had a massive impact on the world isn't a reason to think that think about the fact that like our days are named after gods from other religions. Wednesday is named after Odin. Thursday is named after Thor. I think Friday is named after one of them too, but I could be wrong about that one. But anyway, we have months named after Is Friday Freya? I wasn't sure. Anyway, we have months named after, from traditions from other religions and other cultures. Like, yes, those things, even though they're not true, are extremely influential. Think about like the fact that most of our plants are named after, Roman gods. Like, yeah, those things are influential and they have a huge impact on society, and people care about them and people make decisions that are influenced by them. But it doesn't mean that any of those things are real. Like, Odin doesn't have to be real for Wednesday to be named after him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Frigg or Frigga. That's who Friday's named after. Okay. But anyway, so I don't think any of this that we've discussed so far is evidence for God. So is there something else that you want to present, an argument or some other evidence, or would you rather I present an argument?
Okay, yeah, I'll do my best to try it one more time, right? Okay, so I think earlier you said like if you have, smaller pieces of evidence that kind of compound together to make a bigger argument, you said that could work as well, correct? That could
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, if there's enough, like a good enough cumulative case, and each of the pieces of that cumulative case raise the probability a little bit, and then it's reasonable to think that the totality of that cumulative case should raise the probability of God existing over 50%, I would totally accept that.
Okay.
But I'm going to make a
So-
prediction. My prediction is going to be that each piece of the cumulative case will fail. But I could be wrong, so we'll see.
Well, that's in your interpretation, I guess. But also, I mean, okay, yeah, let me start. So, first, I know you've heard this probably all day, but the creation of the universe, we don't know what happened. Well, atheists don't know what happened. Christians do know what happened, but the creation of the world points to a God because if you go back far enough, atheists just don't understand what happened. They just think, oh, Big Bang, but and when you go before the Big Bang, they're just like, oh, there was just nothing in the universe, and then bam, there was something in the universe. And that's pretty strange. That doesn't just happen. Nothing doesn't turn into everything. So we have to look at that, really pay attention to that, and think, okay, if nothing can become everything, how does that happen, right?
Who
That's
thinks
number
that
one.
nothing
Number two.
became everything?
Hmm?
Who thinks that nothing became everything? Like who is this argument pointed toward?
Points toward atheists.
Okay, name me an atheist that thinks that nothing became everything.
You? Are you
Nope.
an atheist, sir?
I am an atheist, but I certainly don't believe anything like that. So name an atheist
okay.
who
You
thinks
think
that nothing
everything-
became everything.
I don't know any specific atheists. That's
Okay,
just
so why
atheists
do you
will
think that
believe it.
atheists believe that if you don't actually know of any that believe that?
Oh, because of the evidence that they believe that.
What is the evidence that
Evidence-
atheists believe that?
Atheists believe that there is no God, that everything came into the universe through evolution. And if you go back
Nope.
far enough in evolution,
Nope.
no,
No.
atheists don't believe in evolution.
Those are two totally separate things. There are atheists who don't believe in evolution, yes.
Okay,
Those are completely
there are
separate
some
things.
atheists that do.
Yeah, there are some atheists that believe in evolution, and there are some that don't. What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
You're making a claim about something that you claim all atheists believe, and you're saying that all atheists believe this because of some evidence, and I'm asking what that evidence is.
No. Well, atheism doesn't have a particular religion. I kind of classify it as religion, but it has very different views of what it is because no atheist really knows what happened, so they just come up with different things.
This is another
others don't have.
claim. What gives you the authority to say what atheists do and don't know?
Jesus Christ, the Bible. That's my authority. But
No,
atheists
that's
don't have a-
again, that's just more claims. Okay, JJ,
It's
like
not a claim.
JJ,
I'm
here's
telling you.
here's what I'm going to tell you. It's not a good debate tactic ever to use claims about what you think other people believe as part of your argument. You don't ever want to do that because you're never going to be able to support it. You would have to be a mind reader, and I don't think that you're a mind reader. So because neither of us are mind readers, we should just stick to our own positions and our own evidence. So knowing that it's a very bad idea to continue down this road of telling atheists what we believe, what is the actual reason why we should think that the universe was created?
Well, I just told you the universe is created because it has a beginning.
How do you know the
you're
universe has a
saying-
beginning?
How do I know the universe has a beginning?
Yep.
Pretty simple. Bible tells me so. Genesis 1:1. For God,
Okay, yeah, so we're right back to
world.
earlier where you're just believing things because a book told you so. If I could find a
Yeah,
book
you're
that
believing
says
things
if I can find
because-
a book that
Why
says
are
God
you believing things?
If I can find a book that says God didn't create the universe, does that mean that we should both believe that God didn't create the universe?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so then it sounds like maybe we agree that something being written down in a book isn't good enough evidence to believe in that thing, right?
No, not entirely.
Okay, so obviously, if we want to provide evidence for a position, since it being written in a book isn't enough to confirm that that the thing happened, we shouldn't just say evidence for this thing happening is that it was written in a book. So knowing that that is a bad debate tactic, why should we think that the universe had a beginning without referencing something that was written in a book?
I'm trying to think, because it seems that even if I try to, I could give you the answer, or at least my answer, but I feel like in the same vein, you can't give me the same answer either. Because you would say, well, I'm not trying to, say about what you think
Yeah,
is
don't
true,
do that.
but my assumption
Don't make
of
assumptions.
what you
Don't
would
make
say to that,
assumptions about what I would
why
say.
can't I make assumptions?
Because I'm right here. If you want to know my answer to something, you can ask, and I'll.
Oh,
If
well,
it's
yeah,
relevant, then I'll
yeah.
tell you. If it's not relevant,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'm just going to point it out for the dodge that it is. Because what you're supposed to be doing right now isn't talking about what I believe or what other atheists believe. What you're supposed to be doing is giving some justification for why we should think the universe had a beginning. Can you justify that claim?
Sure.
Cool.
We look into the Big Bang, and scientists say, "Oh, Big Bang happened." So,
What does
must
that
be
have
a
to do with the
before
beginning?
Big Bang. What does that have to do with the beginning?
Yeah.
It started off, it kind of created everything.
Nope.
Oh, what tells you no? Why no? What's
Because
the
that's not
evidence
what
for
the
that?
Big Bang is about. The Big Bang doesn't say anything about the universe having a beginning. The Big Bang is just about the beginning of the expansion of the universe. But just
You
because
just
we
said the beginning.
just
You just said it's nothing to do with the beginning, and then you said it's the beginning of the expansion of the universe.
yeah, I said it doesn't
Is
have to
that
do
not the beginning?
it doesn't have to do with the beginning of the universe. It has to do with the beginning of the expansion of the universe. Do you understand the difference between the beginning of something's existence versus the beginning of something's expansion? Like, let's say,
Not
for
exactly.
example,
So, I mean,
let's say,
if
for
you
example,
expand,
JJ, let's say, for example, that I had a balloon. I need to actually get a balloon so I can do this demonstration. Let's say, for example, I had a balloon and I brought it onto the screen right now and started blowing it up. Do you think that the moment that it begins expanding must also be the moment it began existing? Or is it possible that it existed previously and when it began expanding has nothing to do with when it began existing?
it would. Okay, I'm trying to remember what you said, but it's essentially okay, yeah, sure. I see your point. If the balloon expanded, that doesn't mean that it was the beginning.
It doesn't mean that was the
But
beginning of the balloon's existence. It just means that
right.
something about the balloon changed.
hmm
Right. Okay, so now that we know that something beginning to expand has nothing to do with when it began to exist, what should we think that the universe began to exist at some point?
I'd have to say our argument for the universe existing in the beginning. Well, I guess there is none if you don't use the Bible. There
Right.
really is none.
Yep, I agree. And I think that there are really good arguments against the universe having a beginning as well.
Oh, can you tell me?
Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
two?
So everything everything that begins to exist is made out of some other thing that already existed, right?
Sure.
Every time we think of something coming into existence, it's just pre-existing stuff being rearranged, right? That's what, as far as we know, something coming into existence is just an example of something that already existed being rearranged. However, the universe is the totality of all the things that get rearranged to bring things into existence. So our experience with things coming into existence, our understanding of what it means for a thing to come into existence couldn't possibly apply to the universe. So there's no way for our understanding of what it means for something to come into existence to apply to the universe. Therefore, we have no way of concluding that the universe came into existence. Also,
Okay.
if everything that ever came into existence was made out of stuff that already existed, then that would mean that there had to always be stuff that was being turned into other stuff, right? Like,
Sure.
The way that we could say this is like, let's imagine something that began to exist, like a Coke can, right? Like there's a factory that's making Coke cans, and we're going to pick out one specific can and that began to exist when the metal was pressed into that shape, right? Well, obviously that metal existed prior to that can existing. And well, where did that metal come from? Well, that metal would have come from some other thing that already existed. Like, let's say it was ore that was mined out of a mine, right? Well, then obviously that ore already existed. Where did that come from? Well, maybe it was formed through some geological processes where matter got rearranged, through those geological processes. Well, where did that stuff come from previously? Well, that would have been here since the beginning, when the Earth started existing. Well, where did the material that the Earth come from? Well, that would have been, spewed out by stars when they went supernova or whatever, because that's how heavy elements get created, was from from dying stars. Okay, well, where did the material to make up those stars come from? Well, that probably was stuff that was spewed out of other stars. And so it's the furthest that we go back, every single time we think of something coming into existence, it's something being made out of stuff that already existed. So we have no reason to think that stuff came into existence, like, simpliciter stuff came into existence. We have reasons to think that when things begin to exist, it's being made out of other things, right? So those other things must have pre-existed. So any moment in time that we go to look for something coming into existence, it's going to be an example of something being made out of other stuff that already existed. So presumably, that would mean that no matter how far back we go back in time, whether it be billions or trillions or quadrillions of years, if we find things coming into existence, it'll be an example of stuff that already existed being rearranged into a new thing. There's no reason for us to think that any of that stuff that is being rearranged into other stuff ever actually began to exist.
So you believe that there's something that's always existed?
I'm saying that we have no reason to think that the universe began, and we have some reason to think that the universe couldn't have begun. It is not my position. I'm not taking the positive stance that definitely the universe didn't begin. I'm not saying that because I don't have, I couldn't support that position, and I don't have any reason to make a claim that I can't actually support. So the claim that I am making is that we don't actually have a reason to think the universe began existing.
Okay, your claim is that you don't believe that the Earth the universe has started existing.
My claim is that we don't have evidence or any arguments that should lead us to believe the universe began to exist at some point.
Okay. But in your argument, you said that something has to exist to make something else later in the future, right? And how far back you go, you still see something creating something else. Is that right? So anytime that can kind of prove have evidence for God, if something has been before what we know now, like as far back as you go, don't you see kind of how that could kind of correlate with God?
Nope.
Do you see that? No, you don't see that? Why not?
No, because I have no reason to think that God would ever need to be involved in stuff being made into other stuff.
Then what has been involved? What do you think?
I mean, every time we see something coming into existence, it's either through a natural process or like us making something, or you could say like
hasn't been existed, right?
What's
because isn't nothing that has been made, or how should I say this? Everything has been made has already been made, if that makes sense. Like, what is it? Like, matter it only changes, it doesn't come into existence. Is that
energy?
True? Oh, energy. Okay. Is it not the same for matter, or can matter just come into existence?
Yeah, matter can be created and destroyed. It's energy that can't. Well, that's not even true, because there's tons of dark energy being pumped into the universe at all times. And so, I mean, from our perspective, that seems like it might be energy coming into existence. I know that you're talking about the law of conservation of energy, but that's about closed systems, and we don't have any reason to think that the universe is a closed system.
What is a closed system again? Sorry.
It would just be like any a closed system would just be any system where all of the energy like it's self-contained, so all the energy that's in it no new energy is ever introduced to it, and no energy ever leaks out of it, right? That would be a closed system. So like the Earth obviously is in a closed system. It's constantly taking in energy from the sun, right? we don't have a lot of closed systems in reality because energy is either coming into things or leaving things, including the universe itself, because like I said, as far as we can tell, the expansion of the universe is being driven by massive amounts of dark energy being pumped into the universe, which, as far as we can tell, seems to be new energy coming into existence.
Okay.
But
All
this
right, thank
isn't,
you.
so what I'm going to do, what I'd like to do is maybe give you a bit of a formalization of the argument that I was trying to give earlier, and we can try to see if this makes sense. So what I'm saying is that everything that begins to exist is made from something that already exists in the universe. This is true of all of our experiences of things beginning to exist. All right, so let's stipulate a thing X that began to exist. Whatever that thing is, it could be the Coke can, it could be anything. Now, either that thing that began to exist, X, was made from stuff that also had a beginning, or it was made from stuff that never began. So those are the only two options, right? Either the stuff that X was made out of also began, or it didn't also begin, right? Okay. Now, if X was made from stuff that didn't begin, then that means that the universe also didn't begin, because the universe would have had to always exist in order for that stuff that always existed to exist in it, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, so that's one of the options that we lay out in premise 3, and then we'll explore the other option. If X was made from other stuff that also began to exist, then that stuff itself is a new X that was also made from beginningless stuff or stuff with a beginning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what that means is every time we go to look at something that came into existence, there are only two options for it. It either came from beginningless stuff or stuff that had a beginning. And that stuff that had a beginning also came from either beginningless stuff or stuff that had a beginning. So the only two options is that there's either some beginningless thing that was made into other stuff, or there's a beginningless chain of things that began to exist. But either of those options lead us to the conclusion that there is no beginning, that things have always existed.
I would have to disagree. Like I was following you until the last point where there was like the conclusion that there was no beginning, because yes, I agree that I think I agree with points 4 and 5. If X was made from beginningless stuff, then the universe is beginningless. Yeah, because let's say X, right? If X had a beginning, or if X had a beginning and then it created something else, then the beginning, and you believe that the X also was created from something else that had a beginning, then there is no beginning in that situation, because, well, technically there isn't, because you're going back like an infinite amount of beginnings and non-beginnings.
Yeah, what I'm
Isn't that true?
saying is,
So,
let's say that we have thing X, and we say, what was thing X made out of? And it was made out of some other thing that also had a beginning, right? So we're going to call that thing X1. And we say, okay, so X1 had a beginning, which means, because of premise 1, we know that means it was made out of something that existed previously. And so we say X1, well, that was made out of X2. Okay, so does X2 have a beginning? Yes, it does. Okay, fantastic. So then that means that X2 was made out of X3. And so, okay, so that means X3 existed before X2 did. And hopefully you can see what's happening here is that every single time we get to X, whatever number, X, N, every time we're going to say that XN was made out of XN plus 1, right? So what that means is that no matter how far in that chain that we go, XN was made out of XN plus 1. So no matter how far in the chain you go to XN, whether this is X3 or X a billion or X 27 quadrillion,
it was made from something before.
The other thing that it was made from was X 27 quadrillion and 1. And then what was that made out of? X 27 quadrillion and 2. And so at some point in that chain, either at some point in that chain, you're going to come to something that didn't begin, and then that will necessitate that the universe also didn't begin, or you're just going to keep going from xn to xn plus 1 infinitely. That will never end. And if that chain of xn plus 1s always existed, then that means that the universe also always existed. So the only two options that this first premise leaves us is that the universe couldn't have had a beginning.
I believe the first part that you mentioned, yeah, in that situation, if like what you said, xn was made out of xn plus one, yeah, that doesn't have beginning at all. So if there was to be a beginning, that would mean that something had to create something first to
Right,
start off the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
something had to violate this first premise. But you and I both agreed that we're not aware of anything that even can violate that first premise. So what you would have to do in order to give me a reason to believe that the universe began is you would have to demonstrate to me something coming into existence without being made of stuff that already existed.
Oh yeah, no, I can't show you that.
Okay, well
What?
then there's no way to show that the universe had a beginning, and it seems like I have at least some reason to think that the universe did not have a beginning.
Okay, but do you always have to see something to believe something? Do you have to hear something to believe something? You know what I mean? Like
No, I'm
you
not saying that I need to like
everything.
physically
I'm not
see
saying.
it or that it needs to be empirical evidence. I'm fine with a philosophical argument. Like I just gave you a philosophical argument to support my position. I would change my position if there was a sufficient philosophical argument to justify changing my position. So far,
The
I haven't
philosophical
encountered such a thing.
argument, this philosophical argument that you're referencing is about the x plus one thing. Is that what you're saying? Or what was the
Yeah, this
philosophy?
is a philosophical argument. Yep, this is the
Okay.
philosophical argument I'm talking about. This is not science.
Okay, got you.
This is not empirical data. This is an argument that gives us reason to believe, some reason at least, that there is no beginning to the universe. Now, I'm not saying that this conclusively proves 100% that the universe didn't have a beginning. What I am saying, though, is that the only way that we could get out of this is to reject this first premise.
hmm
And this is the only plausible thing in the whole syllogism that I think that we could reject. The problem is, even the only way that we can reject this is to either deny the fact that this is consistent with all of our experience of things coming into existence, or to show something new that we've never experienced before, an example of a thing coming into existence without being made from something else that already existed in the universe.
Okay. Well, that argument just, in my opinion, it just feels like it falls flat. If there's nothing that there, you're saying that there's something that always came before something else, but there's nothing that created that one thing. If that one thing was never created, then how can other things be created from that one thing? You know what I mean? Like,
No,
I
because what
guess
we're
atoms,
saying
for
is that
example. hmm
either each thing, I don't know what you mean by created. If you just mean it began to exist, then we're
Well, like
talking about
if
things beginning to
uh,
exist.
right, like I'm saying, like if X, like how did X come about? Or you're saying, well, X plus one is what came about, or X1. You say
Yes, the
made
reason,
X, and then
yeah,
X2 made X1, and then
yeah.
so like how, like there's like an infinite amount of X's,
hmm
but even it doesn't matter how far back you go, it always it goes back far enough to where there is no beginning in that sense.
Yes,
So that's what I'm saying. There, in that sense, there is no beginning,
right,
and then technically there is no end either, because it'll just
right.
keep going on.
Yep.
So at that instance, right, how can our world exist, I guess, in that sense,
Well, if the
if it's
Earth
a
is
never-ending
X,
cycle of beginning and end?
yeah. So the Earth is, X.
That's why I'm believing that it can't, the universe couldn't be created that way. At least that's in my
Right.
opinion,
That's what
because
I'm
of
saying.
that.
This is
Mhm.
saying that the universe was not created. Correct. The correct
I'm
conclusion to
saying
draw
created
from
in
that
that
argument
way.
is that the universe was not created.
I'm not saying not created at all. I'm saying it doesn't make sense for our universe to be created in that way.
No,
And
no,
my
this isn't
belief,
a way that the
Mhm.
universe was created. This is about the universe not being created. There's some misunderstanding that you're doing here. You're saying,
Mhm.
I don't see how the universe could be created like this, when this is saying that the universe wasn't created. So of course, the universe couldn't have been created by not being created. The whole point is that the universe wasn't created.
Okay, but you're believing in something eternal, correct?
The universe. Well, I don't believe for sure that the universe is eternal. I'm just saying that it could be.
So, okay, so you said all that to say we could be eternal.
Right. What I'm
Yeah, I mean,
saying to
uh-huh.
you is that we at least have some reason to think that the universe did not have a beginning. And
Oh yeah, sure.
your whole argument for God relies on the universe having a beginning, and you haven't been
hmm
you have not been able to provide any reason whatsoever to think that the universe had a beginning. I have been able to provide some reason to think that the universe did not have a beginning. So as far as I can tell, we have some reason to think the universe
You
did not
brought
have a
reason. You
beginning,
didn't
and we
bring
have no
evidence.
reason to think the universe did have a beginning.
You brought reason, but you didn't bring evidence.
That is evidence. That's what
Your
evidence is. Remember
is
my definition of evidence?
your evidence. You said evidence is the plausibility of something, correct? Like
No, evidence is anything that raises the probability of a certain hypothesis being true. And if the hypothesis that
Raises
we're
the
testing is the universe did not have a beginning, then the argument that I've given should raise the probability that the universe did not have a beginning. Therefore, it's evidence the universe did not have a beginning. You have not presented anything that would raise the probability that the universe did have a beginning. That's why I'm saying you haven't presented any evidence.
Okay. Well,
So-
the universe did have a beginning because if we look at the evidence of, I mean, well, okay, we said the Big Bang is, it's an expansion. It doesn't say that that the universe was created. It just says that the universe had an expansion, correct? And then you ask, well, then, the plausible question of that is, well, what created the universe that led to its expansion?
No.
Well, you're saying that nothing created the universe and that the universe has always been here, right? So you're believing that there is eternality somewhere, but you're not attributing that to God. You're attributing that to the universe. Am I on the money right here?
I mean, I specifically said that's not what I'm saying, but sure, let's just pretend that's what I'm saying.
What are you saying? Because I took it into mind that you're saying that it's possible or that it's probable that the universe has been eternal, correct? Or the universe is eternal.
I'm
You're saying
saying
there's good evidence to believe that.
I'm saying that there is at least some evidence to think that the universe is eternal, and there is, as far as I can tell, no evidence to think that the universe had a beginning. But your position, your argument relies on the universe having a beginning, and since we don't have any evidence to support that, it sounds like we don't have any evidence to support your position, your argument.
Okay.
The only
Well,
way
my
that we
only
could have
evidence-
evidence for your argument is if there was evidence the universe had a beginning. I've been asking you, we've been talking for about 40 minutes now. I've asked you so many times for any evidence that the universe had a beginning, and you have yet to provide even a single shred of evidence.
Well, yeah, because in the Christian worldview, it's you can't exactly prove something existing, like because that's the only.
I'm not
that
asking you
is
for
the-
proof.
Okay, you're asking for evidence, got you. But what I'm saying is, because it's a once in a lifetime thing of the creation of the world, it's kind of hard. You can't replicate that. You can't put that
Right,
in a
but if you
laboratory.
don't have
can't-
evidence for something, then you shouldn't believe it. Like that's
Why
just
is that?
that's just basic.
Do you believe everything because evidence?
Yeah. I would never believe something that I didn't have any evidence to believe in.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
insane.
I believe that as well. You know why? Let's bring it back to the Bible. Yes, because
The Bible is not
tells-
evidence.
and-
The Bible is a book of claims. That's not evidence.
Yes, but if the claims, right? If the claims are probable, if the claims have actual backing from it, then it's more possible to
Yeah,
believe
that's the
that it
evidence
is
that I've been
evidence,
asking
correct?
you for this entire time, JJ, and you haven't provided any. Are you now saying that you have some?
Yeah.
Okay,
In-
what's
in
the
my-
evidence that
in
the
my
claims in the Bible about the beginning of the universe are true?
Okay. So basically, you would have to, it comes with a lot of different things, right? But basically, I believe that the Bible is true. Why do I believe that the Bible is true? Is because the Bible says it is true. But then, why
Oh
do-
my
why do I
God,
believe- no,
JJ.
listen, please, just hear me out for a second. And then the Bible says it's true, but then why should I believe that the Bible is true, right? Because then Jesus says the Bible is true. Okay, then why do I believe in Jesus? Why do I believe this guy, right? Who's just saying the Bible's true? Well, I look at his life. I look at his life through the Bible. I look at
You
what
don't know
he's done, I
anything
look at
about
the-
Jesus' life. You literally know zero about Jesus' life.
No, I don't. The Bible tells me about Jesus.
No,
What are you talking
Jesus
about?
has the Bible has a bunch of claims about Jesus' life, but none of them have been corroborated. There's no reason to think that any of the claims in the Bible about Jesus are real. Like, do you actually think that there are quotes from Jesus in the Bible? Because if you do, I've got a bridge to sell you in Arizona. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you.
Okay, what's the evidence of that? Are you going to send me a link to that? Or are you going to send
link
me
to
like,
what?
To your properties in Arizona that you're trying to sell me or whatever? Like,
No, you're saying that you
I'm-
can if you believe stuff. If it takes so little for you to believe something that you're willing to believe that the words in the Bible attributed to Jesus are actual quotes from Jesus, then obviously you're gullible enough to buy oceanfront property in Arizona.
Not
That's
at
the
all.
point that I'm
Because I need
making. You know how
evidence.
gullible you have to be to believe in that? That's insane.
Well, then I'd have to put it back on you, sir, and ask, okay, like, do you believe in, I don't know, what I guess George Washington said if his wrote is written down. You know, we didn't have a camera back then to like show what he said or anything. But
No, I
if he
don't.
wrote something down, you,
No, I don't believe that any quotes attributed to George Washington are 100% accurate.
okay. So do you think you're just guessing? You're just assuming that
No.
it probably is?
No.
Okay. What about anything in that case? What about science? All the science that you told me that you read about. How do you know that's true? Because some scientists said so. What's their
No, because we have access to
authority?
the actual evidence. We can repeat the experiments that scientists do to confirm certain claims to be true or false. Like this is just really, really simple, basic stuff, JJ. It just sounds to me like you've never actually questioned your positions before, and you've never actually thought about why you believe what you believe. You just believe it because you believe it because you believe it. I believe X because the Bible says so. Like a book says a thing, therefore that thing must be true. That's what you're saying. That's what I've heard from you this entire
But you have to see
conversation.
the
I want
probability
you
of
to
the book.
notice, JJ, that when it was my opportunity to provide some kind of evidence for my position, I gave you a very, very specific argument. And you'll also notice that you weren't able to refute anything in the argument, yet you still want to reject the conclusion. And I've been nice enough, because you have been, a kind interlocutor at the very least. You've been polite at least. I didn't hold your feet to the fire on it. But the problem is, JJ, there's a huge, huge discrepancy between the two of us and the way that we've approached this conversation. When you have tried to, make claims and present evidence, and I ask you to support them, you refuse. You don't do it. All you do is give circular stuff like, I believe the Bible because the Bible is true, and the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true, and I know the Bible is true because the Bible says so. Like, that's the best that I've gotten from you, is just this circular nonsense. When I was, showing you how I could support my position, I didn't do anything like that. I didn't have to rely on circular reason. Well, the universe doesn't have a beginning because the universe doesn't have a beginning. And if the universe had a beginning, then I wouldn't believe that the universe didn't have a beginning, but I do believe the universe didn't have a beginning, therefore the universe didn't have a beginning. That's what you sound like right now, JJ. I haven't done that once. So I want you to just really think about the difference between when I try to support my positions and how I go about that, and I actually provide support for my position. I don't just repeat the position and repeat my claims over and over again. I actually support them, versus all you've done is make claims, and then when asked to support them, either repeat those claims or say that they're true because of some other thing that you then refuse to support. So I just really want you to notice how massive a difference there is between the two approaches that we've taken in this conversation. Typically, I end my live an hour ago, so I am going to go ahead and move on or end the live. Right. I appreciate the conversation. Like I said, you have been polite, and that's the only reason why I've continued talking to you for so long, because I typically don't keep people up this long, because generally by this point people become assholes. So I do appreciate you for that. But I just don't feel like we've actually gotten anything from you to support your position. I will say this to people sometimes as a joke. I'm not going to say this as a joke. Genuinely, if you want to have the last word, I'm happy for you to, say your piece. I don't want you to preach or anything like that. I will cut you off if you do that. But if you feel that I've misrepresented you, or there's something that I'm just not understanding, I will let you have the last word. And then I'm gonna drop you and end the live.
Okay, man, that's really nice of you. Yeah, I actually enjoy this conversation. I do appreciate your points on this. You've given me a lot to think about, but a lot to study too, actually. But I guess what I'll say lastly is that I want you to notice something as well, that you can't prove anything either, is what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that as like a own or like an argument, but I want you to notice that in the atheist worldview, you can't really know anything. You can have a lot of, maybe evidence for things, but just because you have evidence doesn't make something true. And, it's the same for Christianity, right? But the whole point of the Bible is that to have faith. So
Right.
that's mainly why I have that. And everyone technically has faith in their own, way. You have faith that your chair won't break if you sit on it, or you have faith.
I don't
that
want to get back into you telling me what I believe, but I appreciate you. I do have
fair enough.
enormous amount to say to what you've just said, but I told you I'd give you the last word, so I won't do that. I appreciate you, JJ, and if you want to come back and
All right,
have
man.
another conversation at another time, I'd be happy to chat again some other time.
All right, appreciate you too, man. Thanks for the talk.
Take care of yourself.
All right.
I feel like that could have gone better, but I also know that it could have been a lot worse. So it is what it is. But I have so much that I want to say about what he said at the end there, but I said I wouldn't do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the live. I thank you everybody for hanging out, for supporting. I tried to do my best to keep up with everybody supporting. And I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you, all of you, for that. And, yeah, thank you for the likes and the comments and interaction, the shares, all of that stuff. It does sincerely, it genuinely helps. But I thank you all, for being here. And the last thing that I want to say before I do end the live is I just want to remind everybody, as I do all the time, tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't know how many more opportunities you have left to, give your family and your friends hugs and tell them how much they mean to you. So take every one of those opportunities that you have. Do not let them pass you by, because you'll regret it if you do. I'm telling you that from personal experience. That's why I say this all the time. So thank you again, everybody.